Tuesday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will starts right now. Hour number one is off and running. 6 a.m. in beautiful Music City, USA. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh making the show happen. My name is Will Bowling. 615-737-1045. How you join the discussion. Streaming live on 1045 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch.
Twitch, please.
We're coming up this morning. We're joined by Austin Price at 8:20, Ron Slay at 9:20. You're not that guy in hour number two. Lots to come on a busy Tuesday morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Got some sprinkles outside, so if you're walking to your car, just remember you might need to make sure those windshield wipers are working this morning. I didn't expect that, so.
Me either. I think it's just it's humid outside this morning.
It's going to be hot again.
It is. Ooh. I appreciated it, though. Yesterday, I'll say this, having to go to a baseball game finally and it wasn't cold, I also been using blankets at baseball games, y'all. Shamefully, I'm telling y'all that.
Keisha's letting you borrow her blanket,
Yeah,
huh?
she let me borrow her blanket. Last Saturday, it was like windy and like 50s, and that made it feel like the 40s. So it was cool, but yesterday it was clear skies, man.
It was nice.
Yeah, it was real solid. Helicopter flew over yesterday, too. I thought that was pretty cool. It's pretty solid. I think they was just flying back.
Over the game?
Yeah, it was cool, though. Those things are do-do-do-do-do. I shouldn't
loud.
make noises like that on air, but
Well, it's 6 a.m. I mean,
it
people need to wake up.
It is, but all in all, solid day, solid morning, too, man. A little gym life this morning. It was all right. Feel okay.
Gym life where I was told it was hard to get in your workout.
Yeah, it was, man. Running into folks discussing the show and stuff, which is a good thing. I enjoy it. But, of course, Vol's conversation come up because a lot of traction we're going to get into over the course of this show today with transfers and signings and commitments and. So, yeah, Vol Nation is crazy early in the morning. I ain't going to say crazy.
Chatty cat.
I want to be informed early in the morning.
How many people were discussing these things with you?
I had 2 this morning.
Really?
I mean, before 6 o'clock. Did
Did they come up to you together?
Crazy.
Like, was this like a small council meeting that happened in the gym this morning?
Separately.
Separately?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the dead giveaway, one is the voice. Do y'all get that? I was like, I know your voice from
I
somewhere.
must not talk that much.
I talk way too much.
In public, I probably don't talk that much.
If I'm like ordering food somewhere, then yes, that is where it will happen the most.
Yeah.
If I'm like, there's one place specifically that I go downtown for lunch every Friday, mostly, where I will order something. It's like, hey man, love the show. Thanks. Appreciate it. Like I was actually at the YMCA working out one day, and I was talking to an old high school classmate that I saw there. And his one of his buddies he was working out with was like, you know him? I like recognize the voice. Like, what? Really? Wow. So yes, that is usually the giveaway.
The voice thing. Did I tell y'all the SEC tournament? I'm sitting there behind the press, and I was in some random seats. And this older lady, and she looked around quick. I was like, oh, am I in somebody's seat? She didn't say anything. She waited till halftime. Very respectful. I'm like, you don't have to be respectful, okay? I got to respect you. She came back, and she's like, are you Ramon? I was like, yes, ma'am. I listened to you guys' show. She was an older lady, sweet senior lady, man.
That's good.
Her. No, I say that respectfully because I don't want to say old. I'm going to just call her senior because, I mean, she was so freaking sweet, man. She was
so freaking old probably, too.
Hey, man. Hey, older women feed you well, okay? See, that you're not going to get a sandwich and some chips and some pickles on the side.
I think they know they're old.
Did she recognize you, or she heard your voice?
It was the voice that made her turn around. I was talking to somebody. I was talking to the guy next to me about the game. It was a Mississippi State and Vols game.
So she kind of overheard
we were
you.
talking. She turned around real quick, and I was like, oh, which is crazy. I say this all the time. Here I go, spend 11 years playing in professional ball, and I am probably more recognized now by the radio than anything.
That's crazy.
That happened to me about 4 times at the SEC tournament this year, and the sad thing was it was because I was yelling at Pat Adams so much.
Oh, yeah.
Was that it?
I was just yelling at Pat Adams. Guy 2 seats down. Hey, man, love the show. Me and my wife listen every morning. Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Sorry you had to hear me yell at that ref so much. He's like, no, I love it. He deserves every bit of it. That's how you know the gospel's being reached to all 4 corners of Nashville, Tennessee, and beyond.
Speaking of referees, I could save him for my You're Not the Guy, but I got a different one. He's talking about Pat Adams. MLB got their own Pat Adams.
Oh, well, yeah, they have for a while.
Yeah, they've all
Angel.
got theirs.
Pat Adams is basketball's Angel Hernandez.
Oh, my.
Not the other way around.
I had no idea.
Oh, yeah. No, there's so much of that in Major League Baseball.
Like, it's making, like, ESPN front page, like, news and stuff. Like, I didn't realize you were able to get away with that. As pro umps, you shouldn't be able to get away with it. Pat Adams, Will, to your point, shouldn't be able to get away with these things.
Well, Pat Adams refereed the Final Four. He called UConn, Alabama in the Final Four.
So he's
getting away with it,
He's
too.
getting away with it and getting rewarded.
Yeah, right.
And he's getting rewarded.
Yeah, right.
Oh, my gosh, man. I'm not here to talk bad about umps at all, though. But that one was apparently Angel has had a rough, like, 2 weeks.
I just love how he goes by Angel.
Closer to Demon.
basis.
The more, yeah, that's hey, tip of the cap to you for that one right there. But all in all, solid, though. This morning, I'm wanting to see what this weather's going to do, but I think it's passed by.
Going to warm up. I guess it's just storms the next 2 nights.
Is it?
Not
I'll
during
take
the
that.
day,
All right,
yeah.
hydrate the grass.
615-737-1045. The Titans bring in a corner in Alabama corner Terrion Arnold yesterday. Another top 30 visit. The Titans have met with 5 corners
Yeah.
on top 30 visits. Chris Adams-Drain, Terrion Arnold, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Jarvis Brownlee, Caden Carson. Is this trade back insurance in the first round?
Trade back insurance. I'd be
Meaning
shocked
if they trade back to a certain point,
Yeah.
are they looking for another corner?
I'd be shocked if they went corner. Maybe a specific one. Yeah, I can see that. But it depends upon the round, though, too, I guess. And if they get the third back, if they get that, yeah, I guess, yes, is what you're saying. I'm hyped up on this coffee right now. My bad.
Well, because
I'm
that's
so scattered. Go ahead.
Deep
Kat.
breath.
that's just one of
I
those.
know. I got to breathe.
Those positions too that you have to have depth in eventually, right? Because it is in terms of the cornerbacks, not old, but you do got some guys in there who are not young. So it's like if you have a cornerback that at some point, for some reason, comes to you at that spot and there's another guy that maybe went, I don't think it would be a shock if they took one of these guys that they really liked, because it's not going to do you any harm to build at that position, especially if you can get one of these talented guys. I love Terrion Arnold, by the way.
I think that's the one it'd be shocking if they took him because he's ranked number 10
Right,
overall
he'd
by
go
Dane
quick.
Brugler and the Beast. So at that point, you're talking about Chris Adams-Drain, ranked 15th by Dane Brugler in his Beast Athletic draft guide among corners. Kool-Aid McKinstry, 5th. Jarvis Brownlee, 14th. And Kalen Carson, 13th.
All right, then.
So you're looking predominantly at guys who would be 2nd, 3rd, 4th round options at the cornerback position. But it is interesting.
But this also leads to just team building too. Like what better guys to learn under than Chig and Legarius? I mean Cheeto and Legarius. You know, soaking up all that knowledge for a young guy trying to figure out how to play NFL techniques. So at some point you do have to start exploring those young guys. And again, say what we want to about them until the bottom fell out as it pertains to Christian and his perception and public talk or whatever you want to call his time here. That first couple of years, he had a solid start to a fourth. What was he? A third rounder?
Second.
He was second
rounder. So you can get your starters, your dudes, as far as the cornerbacks later rounds. It does come down to environment, how you set them up, and how you play them. So if they are looking for developmental guys or guys that come in and learn under those 2 stud corners that they got, I mean, what better time to do it than now?
I mean, Legarius was a 4th rounder.
Yeah, that's big time right there. That is also something, too, as we get closer. I kind of want to have that conversation, too. Like, what are we looking for? Like, blue chippers? But how many blue chippers are you capable of getting on the team? How many is required? And I may end up looking at some of the better teams, and we'll decide which one.
Yeah, that'd be interesting, actually.
It's Kansas City. Let's go Philly.
Philly, yeah.
San Fran. It's like, how many blue chippers do you have to and also win?
Most importantly, do you just have a blue chip quarterback?
That's the last part.
You can make Rashee Rice be when he's on the field and out of trouble, you can make Rashee Rice be close to a wide receiver 1 when you've got Mahomes. So it's easier for them.
It is. It is easy for him. And that's why a lot is on Levis in the second year. If somehow he pops up on my YouTube page, which second-year quarterback will improve the most, and it's got Will Levis on here. Yeah, it just popped up on me. Will Levis got a lot on his plate.
Yeah, he does.
I'm excited to see what it's going to look like if his super strong personality and competitive edge actually pays off for him, because there's a fine balance between edginess and also knowing when to, sit back and let your team make plays for you too. And I'm hoping, of course, not playing hero ball is something he's discovering for himself too.
615-737-1045 coming up. What's the Titans' best option after Joe Alt? ESPN's Matt Miller weighed in on that with us, and we'll hear what he had to say coming up next. What's going on? It's Will Bowling. Are you thinking about replacing your air conditioning unit? Well, if the answer is yes, then call the expert team at Lee Company today and ask about their current special financing offers. And look, the best time to take care of that air conditioning unit is while temperatures are still in the 70s and 80s, because in the snap of a finger, they're going to be closer to 90s here in Middle Tennessee. It's right around the corner. Well, your heating and air conditioning system, it also not only keeps your home comfortable year-round, it can also help enhance the quality of air around you and for your loved ones as well. So don't wait until your old system breaks. Have Lee Company take a look. And right now, you can get $1,250 off the price of a new air conditioning unit. That's right, $1,250 off, $1,250. Give them a call, 615-567-1000. That's 615-567-1000. They're online at leecompany.com. That's Lee Company, all you need. Tuesday morning in our mode, Kayla and Will is brewed by 8th and Rose. Austin Price stops by. It's at 8:20 this morning. Ron Slay of 3HL and SEC Network in hour number 4, as always. And get ready to complain in an hour at 7:20 for You're Not That Guy. 615-737-1045. Is Malik Neighbors the best Titans plan B if Joe Alt becomes a Los Angeles Charger? We asked ESPN's Matt Miller about that and much more in the Tennessee Titans draft. Well, Matt, that's going to be the strategy. We feel like if Joe Alt is available with the number 7 overall pick for the Titans. But as we get closer to this thing, we start looking at all of the other scenarios. And if Joe Alt is not available at the number 7 overall pick, what's the likelihood of that in your opinion? And if that does happen, who's taking him in front of the Titans at 7?
Yeah, I would say it is possible. I won't say it's likely, but it is possible that he's off the board. I think if you are the Tennessee Titans, you are telling everybody you know that there are 4 really, really good quarterbacks in this class so that they all go ahead of you. And I think that's very likely right now, just looking at team needs, looking at strategy throughout what teams done this offseason. Feel confident 4 quarterbacks are going to go in the top 6. That's great news for you guys. If the LA Chargers stay at 5, they're the team you have to worry about because we don't know, right? With Jim Harbaugh, with Joe Ortiz, we don't know their strategy. We don't know their preferences and how they want to build this team. They have a good left tackle in Rashawn Slater. He's been banged up though, and he's coming up on a contract year. So could they draft Joe Alt and say, we're going to play Joe on the right side for 1 year, and then he's going to play left tackle, and we're going to clean some money off the books moving forward? Very, very possible that happens. If the Chargers either trade out of 5 to a team like the Minnesota Vikings who need a quarterback, or if they take one of the wide receivers, that's great news. Like you can, I think, breathe a sigh of relief if that happens next Thursday night. If Joe Alt is gone, I think you just take the best wide receiver on the board at that point. I really do. Even after adding Calvin Ridley, I think we're looking at Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, 2 guys who could dominate from the slot. Rome could play inside or outside, but amazing production, those 2 from the inside. So you're in a great spot. There's no consolation prize here. If Joe Alt's there, you take him. You feel great about it. If he's not, you take one of the great wide receivers and start to build the offense out that way.
Matt Miller of ESPN is with us this morning. Matt, when it comes down to, we're talking about Joe Alt and everybody else's way it's broken down, is it somewhat surprising or shocking that the other guys behind Alt seem to be right tackles? Like, what NFL is that right now that you have J.C. Latham and Talifuaga and a bunch of other guys who primarily play right tackle that could potentially be top 15 guys?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that equality, if you have to have a great right tackle now. We've even seen teams like Kansas City, they paid Jawan Taylor big time money, and they're skimping on the left side with Donovan Smith, who's a good player, but he's not making top tier money. And so we have seen the right tackle spot become really, really important. Last year, the 2 tackles drafted in the top 10, Paris Johnson, Darnell Wright, both played right tackle as rookies. So it says a lot about that position. I think what's most fascinating to me is that someone like Olu Fashanu has 1 bad game against Ohio State while he was hurt. And people have bailed on my guy. They talk about him now of oh my gosh, he can't go in the top 15. I don't see that at all. I think Olu's he was number 11 on my board, my final board that came out yesterday. I think he's a good player. There's some things you have to clean up in his game, but man, we could say that about all these guys, whether it be Latham, who I'm not as high on, or Fuaga, Troy Fatanu. There's so many guys in this class who are talented. There's obviously, a thing you might have to clean up in their game, but I think Bashanu's going to be a really, really good player for a long time.
And, of course, that's preseason. Pre-draft stuff that'll sift out on draft night. It's crazy how it always sifts out, Matt. On the other side of that, we're not hearing a whole lot about the defensive side of it, particularly the interior D-line. How are you – where do you place guys like Byron Murphy and Johnny Newton, as he's called now, if the team like the Titans have to move back because Joe Alt is gone? Where do you see those types of guys being drafted in the interior D tackle?
Yeah, I think Byron Murphy goes off the board. I feel like 16 where the Seattle Seahawks are at is probably his floor. He doesn't get past them. Johnny Newton, like you said, interesting player because he's been hurt in this pre-draft process. He hasn't had the opportunity to work out, and that makes him a tough player to evaluate. I saw him in person against Kansas in early September, and he was amazing. They had no answer for him, and they run a lot of outside stretch zone plays. They have a really good running back at Devin Neal. They have a mobile quarterback. It was Jason Bean that week. And he's running down these like really athletic running backs and quarterbacks. I'm like, gosh, dang, this dude is all over the place. Then he has the foot injury, had foot surgery this offseason. That has really slowed him down. But I think his range is harder to pinpoint because he should come off the board in the 20s. Because of the foot surgery, because of the timeline, it might actually be in the 30s before he comes off the board, despite the fact that, in September we were talking about he was the best defensive tackle in college football. Just happened that things slowed down for him a little bit.
Matt Miller of ESPN joining us on RKW. So linebacker position is something that we've talked about. They definitely need some additions here. Obviously, Kenneth Murray in free agency they added. Who would be the best pair with a guy like that could possibly be a find in the draft?
Yeah, all of them I think pair really well with him. Adrian Cooper from Texas A&M, probably the first one off the board. He could come off the board in the first round, though. So you're definitely looking a little bit later than that. I love Junior Colson from Michigan. Played this year through a hand injury. He's got the big cast on the hand, but he is a rangy sideline-to-sideline type linebacker. I think would pair well with Murray's athleticism. He's probably someone that you have to take in the second round, though. Like, he's a guy you're targeting with pick 38, which might be a little bit early for Titans fans who want to pull the trigger on a linebacker. Getting down to the fourth round where they have pick 106, Cedric Gray from North Carolina, Jalen Ford from Texas. Jalen had 6 or 7 career interceptions in college. Really good player in coverage. I love Michael Barrett from Michigan. He might even be a round 5 type player, just because he's a little bit limited in his range. But this is a good, productive linebacker class in the middle rounds to where you're going to be able to find, especially like you don't need, that Jack Campbell type guy who went in the first round last year. You're not necessarily looking for that. You're looking for a complementary player. I think round 4, maybe even into round 5, you can find really good talent.
Matt, let's say they do take Joe Alt, possibly at 7 if they just have him there. And you talked about the wide receivers early on that will go. How about some of these wide receivers, since this is a deep class, that they could possibly get a little bit later on? Let's say even in the 4th round, since right now they don't have that 3rd rounder.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't know this was happening, but I tweeted right before I came on with you guys that the drop-off of wide receiver talent this year is pretty stark. Like in the top 100 players ranked, I have 19 wide receivers.
Ooh.
In the next 100 players, I only have 12. So there's a big drop-off. And in the 7th round even, like this is a shallow pool of talent at wide receiver. So everybody here is like, oh, this is one of the best wide receiver classes of all time. That's true, but that's at the top of the board.
Mm.
That's not, in round 5, 6, 7. So, in round 4, Jermaine Burton from Alabama is a really talented player. He's been a little bit of a headache for them at that program. So you have to know, okay, are we willing to take on, a little bit of a player that we're going to have to stay on a little bit for the talent. Luke McCaffrey, coming out of Rice, really, really good slot receiver, pretty new to the position after being a quarterback early in college. He's someone that I would have my eye on. And I think with the Titans, and we even heard this a little bit last week, like they need that slot receiver. Like counting on Traylon Burks at this point, we all know that you can't do that. So Luke McCaffrey, Jamari Thrash from Louisville, Taj Washington from USC, those would be really talented guys for that role in rounds 4 or 5 to where you can get some of that value. I don't know that this is the year where you necessarily wait until round 7. I know they had 2 picks there. And sure, you want to take a swing on a receiver who has outstanding measurables in round 7. You should do that, but let's not count on that player. Even rounds 4 and 5, I tell fans all the time, like, hey, I might really like this player you got in round 4 or 5. There's a reason they're there. Like, those aren't players you're expected to count on. Think of those as depth pieces for 4 years. If they rise above that, you're winning at that point.
ESPN's Matt Miller is our guest at NFL Draft Scout, where you can find him on Twitter. Ranked the top 474 prospects on ESPN.com in this NFL draft. And Matt, it's interesting. You've got Rome Odunze and Malik Neighbors, 3 and 4 in this ranking. Let's say, for the sake of argument, Joe Alt is gone and Marvin Harrison Jr. we think will be gone when the Titans get on the clock at number 7. How do you separate Odunze's skill set to Neighbors? And if the comp for Odunze is Jamar Chase, would he be the better fit than Neighbors in this Titans offense?
That is tough because I think in my ranking of those two, they both had the same grade at 97. So it does come down to scheme fit and preference. Odunze would be great in this offense, absolutely, and he probably allows you to kick Calvin Ridley to the slot where he's such a great route runner. You could have a lot of success doing that. I actually lean for Tennessee a little bit more to Neighbors because the yards after catch trait that he brings would be unique here, to where Hop is such he wins over the top 50-50 balls. Ridley's a great route runner, a possession guy. I think Neighbors' yards after catch would be a little more intriguing here. And going back to that, finding somebody who could dominate from the slot, Neighbors' 70% of his production was from the slot in college. So it's something that he's familiar with, he's comfortable with. You really couldn't go wrong with either of these guys. And I think Rome would eventually, you've got two really good receivers here. Both are a little bit older. Rome would eventually become that number one X wide receiver. D-Hop will be 32 next year. That's, it's rare to see wide receivers have any production over 30, and Calvin Ridley turns 30 in December. So you can always be thinking ahead. If looking at just 2024, I would lean Neighbors for the Titans just, again, because that yards after catch slot ability that he brings.
ESPN's Matt Miller is with us this morning. Matt, at what point, if teams jump in front of you and the trades happen, we mentioned all potentially not being there, at what point do you see teams get nervous to where they have to take best available when it doesn't really fit their squad, or do you just live that life and say, hey, he was the best available player on the board?
I think you're always in that mindset of best player available. You can fudge that a little bit and be like, oh, our best player available just happened to be in a position that we have a gigantic need. We see that every year where teams say, oh, yeah, BPA. And it's like, no, you really needed a corner. Like, you can say BPA, but you're bypassing, all these other positions that still have really good players on the board. So we do see that. You're not going to run into that at 7 this year. That's the beauty of the way this draft class is loaded at the top, where we're going to see 4 quarterbacks come off the board. You're good there with Will Levis. So you're in a spot where it's going to be the best offensive tackle or the second best wide receiver will probably be on the board for you. And I would say those are the 2 biggest needs for the Titans. So it does work out really, really well to where you're going to get an impact player. I think the interesting part would be, like, do you consider a trade back if Joe Alt is off the board? Do you slide back, let a team come up for a wide receiver, and you still feel like maybe you could get, an Olu Fashanu in the early teams? Like, you got to stay ahead of Denver if that's your strategy, so you can't slide back very far. But it's at least something that you have to think about if Chicago wants to come up and make sure they get one of the top wide receivers. If I don't think that there's any world in which that 4th quarterback is still sitting there. If they are, then you could trade back to 11 with Minnesota. But those are the interesting scenarios to me with Tennessee, is the trade back. Because if they stick at 7, it's going to be Alt or a wide receiver, it feels like.
ESPN NFL draft analyst and insider Matt Miller joining us this morning. Matt, we had this discussion earlier on the show. There's so many needs for the Titans. One of those needs, and they could address this later on in free agency after the draft, but it is safety. And even with Amani Hooker, he is on a second contract. He has been beat up a little. There's not much depth at that position. Where could they look to in this draft at the safety position? Or is it just one of those, it's not deep enough to be able to probably get one?
I think you could. Like, again, round 4 is kind of the sweet spot for safeties. Guys like Cam Kinchins from Miami, who had a tough pre-draft process, just didn't test very well, despite the fact that he was an All-American 2 years ago, had 11 career interceptions. He could be on the board there. Tyke Smith from Georgia, a little bit undersized, but he's a good, almost like nickel safety who could certainly be there. Jalen Simpson, another player I like in that range, just a little bit skinny. That's why he's going to be available in that spot. Bo Braid from Maryland could be there. So, yeah, I'm with you. And I think I love that you said this, because this safety class in free agency, we saw so many guys get released and then never get signed anywhere. So there are still really good quality safeties out on the market, to where it does feel like teams are waiting until after the draft at the safety spot, especially. But you know what? We'll add a Quandre Diggs or a Jamal Adams after the draft. Let's see where these safeties go. There's not a safety that I would say will be drafted in the first round. Let's see where these safeties go on day 2 and day 3. And then, we can add a Justin Simmons. We can add an Eddie Jackson. There's almost probably 10 starting caliber safeties just sitting out there on the market, and that it's not going to be at a high price point because of where we're at in the process. So I almost feel like safety is probably that spot, like we were talking about, where don't reach, because you can get, you can find a free safety, and you could actually find a third safety on the market right now, and it's not going to cost you a ton.
Matt, your colleagues at ESPN have an interesting trade-back scenario for the Titans in the second round, with the Titans moving back to 47 with the New York Giants, who would hypothetically be moving up to select Bo Nix with the 38th overall pick. What's the realistic range where you think Bo Nix and Michael Penix go in this thing?
And it is huge. So this is one of the peek behind the curtain. This time of year, one thing that I'm doing when I'm not on radio or TV is talking to agents so that they can tell their players, like, hey, here's a range so that you and your family don't have unrealistic expectations. if I were getting called by Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr.'s camps, I would say your range is like 12 to 40. It's huge, which it sucks. Like, you want to hone in closer, but we could see the Denver Broncos surprise us all. And at this point, it probably wouldn't be a surprise, but we could see Denver take the fifth quarterback off the board at 12. We could see the Raiders do it at 13. If either of those guys isn't drafted at 12 or 13, your weight becomes enormous, just like it did for Will Levis last year. We were talking about Will as a potential top 5 pick last year, certainly top 10, but we knew if he made it past that top 10, there was going to be a weight, because you get into that area of teams that just don't need quarterbacks. These are perennial contenders or playoff teams where, hey, they're not taking quarterbacks at this point. So for the guys this year, I would say if you get past the Raiders at 13, you're going to experience a wait, and it will be. You're waiting to see who trades up. The Giants could be that team that trades up. The Rams could be that team that trades up. But you're watching the ticker on the bottom of ESPN, waiting for that little chime that says, we have a trade, and it's somebody coming up to get you.
There is ESPN's Matt Miller with us on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. If you missed any of that conversation, you can check it out wherever you download podcasts, on Apple, on Spotify, as well as 1045thezone.com.
It was a good combo. I think he brought some good things to light in terms of just options for the Titans, and there seems to be plenty of those. But I think a thing we all kind of agreed on, too, is just the inside linebacker position. I feel like it is of need. And, man, to get Junior Colson, that'd be huge.
That'd be big. Junior Colson's one of those situations where if a team need him, you better get him,
Oh, yeah.
Especially once you hit that second round mark, because I think the jury will be out at that point. It's like he's the best available guy at that position if you need to do it. And that's what sucks about the draft. It's just a waiting game unless, like he said a second ago, you got to start moving up and, hey, there's a trade situations. But it sucks knowing that you have a need and others just want a good player on their team. That's where Junior Colson gets a little tricky for me.
Interesting, too, the note on Bo Nix and Michael Penix and how big their ranges are. Where do you think those guys go?
Realistically, I go middle second. I can see Michael Penix move up, like top end of the second, or like late first, depending on if a team moves back. Like I think the optimal team for him to go to is probably Minnesota, indoors. I mean, an offense that wants to get down the field, got a receiver set up for him already, offensive line, got a run game, just because he can spin the ball and they want to spin the ball.
Look, and I don't know what Seattle's going to do towards the bottom of the first round, but that has also been a spot where he's, been kind of rumored to have some interest in just because of the quarterback situation there. I mean, under Geno Smith, which we all know, I don't think Geno is a long-term solution for that franchise. So, Washington, staying kind of in that area, maybe that's the case. But other than that, I Ramon, see him going probably more towards the beginning of the second, maybe mid. But Bo, I'd say if anything, bottom of the second round, maybe top of the third.
Well, it is his college offensive coordinator and Ryan Grubb at Washington,
at Seattle,
in Seattle as well.
Mm-hmm. That would be interesting.
He better get on the table for him if you really like him.
Exactly.
They got somebody that intimately knows him. So, and I appreciate Matt saying at the end too, tempering expectations. I'll tell you, I might have to tell this story going into draft week, but it was, it was emotional for your boy.
Everybody's got a draft story, and some are happier than others.
Yeah, definitely.
615-737-1045. Yesterday, we got news on one veteran wide receiver and one soon-to-be rookie wide receiver. We'll give you the latest on one AFC star, as well as what the Cardinals are thinking in the top 5. That's next.
If you've been here for a while, you know what a big deal this is coming. 3 incredible days, April 26th through the 28th, okay? This is the big one. With unbelievable store-wide savings up to 35% off, they hold nothing back. From rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, pendants, thousands of engagement ring settings, natural and lab-grown diamonds, special pricing across the board with zero-interest financing as well. This is when the staff at Genesis knows they can break all the rules. Plus, world-class designers have flown in from with all new collections of fashion jewelry from New York and California. This is the stuff you can't find anywhere else, and it would all be on sale. If you're getting engaged or have that special event coming up, y'all know it's that time of the year where graduation, Mother's Day, anniversaries in the summer, birthdays, whatever. You can't miss this incredible buying opportunity. Don't miss the expanded selection and the extreme value pricing. People drive for hours to be a part of this. Mark your calendars again. It's April 26th, 27th, and 28th, exclusively at Genesis Diamonds and Luxury Pre-Owned Rolexes. They're located in Green Hills and Cool Springs, both locations. See store for details.
RKW is brewed by 8th and Rose on 104.5 The Zone. We'll tell you who was visiting the Titans coming up yesterday in 15 minutes. 615-737-1045. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling with Robert Walsh making the show happen. Albert Breer says the Arizona Cardinals, despite former Titans assistant GM Monty Ossenfort and his desire to trade, like he did last year, out of his pick and then back up into a higher pick, is considering staying at 4 and picking with his spot. No surprise there.
Yeah, no surprise there. I mean, what incentive do they have to move back when there are players that they're looking for is within that top 4, right?
That would be the 11th and 23rd overall picks, potentially, would be their incentive to move back.
Well, I guess that's a lot.
If you got a generational talent, especially at wide receiver, Kyler Murray right now, that the jury is out on him still in terms of how long he could possibly be there. But right now, he's the quarterback. So if you're going to do anything to try to make him better, it's try to add a generational talent. Look, their wide receiver room, not great if you look at it. I mean, Chris Moore, there's just not. Michael Wilson, Zach Pascal. I mean, there's not a ton of guys.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are going to have a guy in front of you like that a lot of people would die to get, why not take him and benefit your team?
Tight end Trey McBride, the other guy.
Yeah.
In Arizona, the Colorado State tight end.
Yes. Good one.
Whenever something like this comes out, I'm always immediately skeptical. Like, who does this serve? Who gets the most out of this information being put out? This, to me, is like Valentine's Day when you bring candy to everybody and you don't want to give your crush something. Oh, I'm staying at 4. I definitely don't want to tweet out. Like, come on, man. We all know you want picks. We all know your roster is depleted. You need to have more picks to get more better players. Like, I just don't. I'm staying at 4. Come on, man. What are you doing?
Say stiffening the trade right there is what they're doing. Like, come with it.
I definitely want to stay here and pick, guys, so somebody better make me a really good offer. Shut up.
I feel them on that, though. I mean, to get Marvin Harrison Jr. is huge. I mean, if they truly believe into what Kyler Murray is all about. Again, we saw what he was capable of doing with D-Hop. Can't say they didn't have some good years with D-Hop. And if they're considering Marvin Harrison Jr. to be this type of guy, the issue that they're going to run into is, can they actually compete still with where their roster is with that one pick right there? You know, and how much time they're going to give Kyler Murray to somewhat figure it out too. He's had some solid years. I won't act like he hasn't. But it's a matter of, are they actually going to get over the top? Because when you're picking a dude like Marvin Harrison Jr., you're also telling the world, all right, it's time for us to start competing. And is Arizona that close to competing?
And that's the thing. They have so many needs. Why not have a guy like that is that caliber, or you think is that caliber of a receiver, and didn't even do anything for his pro days, didn't have to go to the comp. I mean, that's what he's considered to be, is that good. Unless you're doing your due diligence on, any player, if maybe you see something out of him you don't like, I think that's hard to believe, though. I mean, why not take him? Yeah. I mean, I get getting the picks. I get it. But he's the best player on the board at that point.
Meanwhile, Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk writes about T. Higgins and comments he made over the weekend, saying he does expect to be a Cincinnati Bengal this season, and also says, Mike Florio on ProFootballTalk.com, that after word got out that he asked for a trade, the Bengals did not get an overwhelming amount of interest. Why do we think that is?
Why do we think that is? As far as T. Higgins goes, the pick that you have to give up for him, that'd be the only reason I would think of right now. I mean, of course, if they're going to hold for a hard, second-round pick, then that's asking a lot for a lot of teams that has, a plethora of wide receivers in the first couple of rounds this year. And especially with what he's going to be expected to be paid too. And then the question behind T. Higgins is, if you're trading for him and also got to pay him, is T. Higgins really a number 1 pick? I mean, a number one wide receiver? Or is he a very glorified number 2? And I'm not saying that because he's not here. Those are the questions you have to have whenever you sacrifice the amount of salary that you're going to have to pay him and the pick you're going to have to give up. And also submit yourself to saying he's our number 1. Like, I love what he can do, and I think he's a really good wide receiver. But is he a bona fide number 1 to be giving up all those assets? Or do you rather, all right, we'll wait on him to become a free agent?
Well, we saw what happened with L'Jarius Sneed and trade stuff with him. I mean, there wasn't a ton of teams that were willing. this year in particular to give up that second round or even just give up a third round. The draft picks and the drafts, I guess for a lot of these teams, the amount of draft picks they have, it's not enough for some of these teams. And some of these teams are just in complete rebuild mode. I mean, the Titans are in rebuild mode, but there's teams like the New England Patriots that, what do they have? They don't have a quarterback. They don't have wide receivers. And so I think it's one of those things where it would be very beneficial to have T. Higgins on one of these teams. However, is it worth giving up your draft stock if you're already kind of in the gutter and trying to rebuild? At some point, you can't afford to do that.
Well, I just think people are familiar with Cincinnati's game on this. They give the franchise tag, and players consistently play on that franchise tag throughout that franchise's history. A.J. Green did it in 2020. Jesse Bates did it a few years ago before he ended up going to Atlanta. It feels like organizationally, Cincinnati's philosophy is tag these players, yet don't let that one-year deal diminish their trade value. Still ask for what you would ask for if they were on a longer-term extension or on a, before entering their franchise tag scenario deal. Don't let the franchise tag scare you away and make you accept less because they have the money. So you might as well keep him because they are in win now, Super Bowl window, wide open mode. They can afford to ask for the moon and hope that somebody gives them the stars.
They're also in a situation where, as far as T. Higgins, as far as he's concerned, you have the Jamar Chase effect. Like, I think it's a different when you're looking at Calvin Ridley being in Jacksonville versus him being in Cincinnati. You kind of say to yourself, well, Calvin Ridley showed that he can build number one. And because of Jamar Chase always gets the lion's share and always have the most amount of yards, too. That's where it becomes, I guess, for team sides, like to your point, how good of a number one would you be on your own, or are you benefiting the same way I look at now? Juju AB, right? Juju's a 1,000-yard receiver when he had Antonio Brown.
It seems like T wants to be a number one. That's for sure.
615-737-1045, our number. The Titans met with a defensive player yesterday. Are they closely vetting potentially making cornerback a high priority in the draft? We'll talk about that next.
It's Ramon Foster for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. And in the month of April, you can smile and save this month with Hiller, okay? From now until April 30th, take advantage of big savings on home systems. Yes, full whole systems, where you can get up to $1,500 off select new HVAC system, whole home water filtration and descalers, or select new whole home generators, which are clutch. Hopefully the storms stay away. You don't need it. But if you do, go ahead and set yourself up with all that cash off. But if you've been waiting for the right time to upgrade or replace your systems, I'm here to tell you now's the time. Visit happyhiller.com today for details.
What's going on? 701. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Eagles and wide receiver Devonta Smith have agreed to a 4-year, $90 million extension, keeping him in Philadelphia through the 2028 season. Smith had a $15 million fifth-year option that was picked up, then another 3 years, $75 million added on top of that. Smith had durability concerns coming into the league due to his size, but has only missed one game in his 3 years in the NFL. And while some wide receivers are getting paid, others are playing the waiting game, as CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson are skipping voluntary workouts, as reported by Ian Rappaport. Both are in the final year of their deals, waiting for their teams to pay up. And the WNBA draft was last night. Some of the highlights: Caitlin Clark, #1 overall to the Indiana Fever. No surprise there. South Carolina's Camilla Cardoza and Tennessee's Rakia Jackson both go to the LA Sparks, 2nd and 4th respectively. And the Chicago Sky selecting Angel Reese 7th overall. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Hour number 2 of RKW is brewed by 8th and Roast on 104.5 The Zone. Rocking and rolling at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday. Coming up in 20 minutes, think negative thoughts. I don't tell you that often, but we will allow you to for about 20 minutes because You're Not That Guy is coming up in just about 15 minutes. Load up the phone lines at 615-737-1045. You can skip the line. You can form the line in an orderly fashion, single file, to complain about something or someone in your week. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh is our producer. I am Will Bowling, streaming live, where you can watch the show on 104.5 The Zone television. Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch.
Twitch, please.
You weren't even.
He's asleep at the wheel.
Asleep at the wheel.
While we're talking about
Wake up,
lines, I feel like Will would have been the supreme line leader in school.
Ooh.
Did any of you guys get the privilege of being line leaders?
I did a couple times.
Ooh.
I did.
Yeah.
There is no sense of pride such as that. You getting to leave your classmates around. Oh, I think we're going to take a little bathroom break. Oh, I think we're going to get a little extra chalky milk in the cafeteria. Who's to say I'm the line leader?
Well, I'll tell you what. I just got a text that told me to tell you to go to the back to the end of the line because you met my wife again this past weekend.
Oh, no, what'd I do?
And then she told Bert, I'm going to call in one day, Bert. I'm going to let you through. And so they have a relationship now, okay?
Okay.
She told me to let you know the NBA draft last night that Rakia and Cameron Brink both went to the LA Sparks. You somewhat messed that up.
Isn't that what I said?
So you got to call Keisha and let her know. Yeah.
He's just
Somebody in
calling
the
him
chat
out.
said the same thing.
This is what I
Damn.
have written in my update. South Carolina's Camilla Cardoza goes 2nd, and Tennessee's Rakia Jackson goes 4th, both to the LA Sparks.
Cameron Brink was second,
Cameron
not
Brink.
Camilla
Ah,
Cardoza.
not second. Dad gummit, guys.
Yep.
Cameron Brink is the Stanford forward.
Oh yeah, she is
The tall blonde.
Yeah.
Yes. If
Looks
she
like
was
a model.
if she was a certain kind of writing, she would be fine writing. If she was a certain type of hair, she would be fine hairs.
Oh my
If she was a
God.
Sharpie, she'd be an extra fine Sharpie,
I'm
is what you're
telling
saying.
you. I'm telling you.
Cheyenne better not be listening.
She sleep.
Look, I don't know if you saw that girl on the draft. Look like she can whoop Cheyenne's ass.
Well, she got the height advantage. She's got the height
If they
advantage.
want
That's
to
for
if they
sure.
fighting over old
Yeah.
Bird, I don't know. Cheyenne might want to bring
I
a
don't know.
stick or something.
Dude, Cheyenne, though, I'll tell you this much. Like myself, when we get the switch flipped and you see nice side of us mostly, when you flip the switch, I feel like Cheyenne's got another side to her.
I think
And you do
everybody
not want to
does.
be in front of her.
Cheyenne has gotten into one altercation that I'm aware of. And all I'm going to say, it's past the statute of limitations. I don't know if you could find the film anywhere, but some girl was talking all this junk, and Cheyenne had to. She could have probably gone to the NBA or the WNBA draft because she dribbled this girl's head off the ground. I don't mess with Cheyenne. With Cheyenne.
So what you saying is that girl is not that guy then on the other end.
I'm telling you, she was never heard from again.
I love that.
That's
Let's
fair.
go, Cheyenne.
That is fair. I believe you too, Bert. I see Cheyenne and be like, yes, ma'am.
I see UFC as
That's
her
it.
future.
What she does not take it easy on, too, is free items, just like all of us.
Oh, yeah.
We should have snatched more of those free cups.
I needed those donuts.
I'm telling you, she goes by my credo. If it's free, it's me. Or if it's free, take 3.
Ooh, I like that one.
We was that
It's a good
close to
motto.
taking 3 at the Preds game. We were.
Again, thanks for the hospitality. That was
Yeah.
awesome.
If you ever were
great.
curious about how far women's basketball has come, we just got 3 messages
Ooh.
at the same time about Bert messing up facts about the WNBA draft.
Okay, salute.
I'll take my licks.
Hey, right. We
One
watched
tweet, one in the chat, and then a text from Keisha.
it. Yeah.
Let's go, WNBA.
By the way, man, congrats to Rakia Jackson. Lady Vols,
Yeah.
the lone Lady Vol to get drafted. That's big for her, man. Going to L.A., of course, and what's crazy is she get a chance to play with Cameron Brink. So
She can be hit.
I'm cool with that. That's good. That's good.
Gonna be good stuff over there.
615-737-1045. Yesterday, the Titans added another top 30 visit to their list, reportedly hosting Alabama cornerback Terrion Arnold, a 2-year starter at Alabama who worked primarily as the left corner in Nick Saban's defense, according to Dane Brugler's Beast. 24.4% of his snaps actually came inside in 2023, would follow top receivers wherever they went at times at Alabama. Does it move the needle for you that the Titans have met with 5 corners thus far? Chris Adams-Drain, Terrion Arnold, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Jarvis Brownlee, and Kalen Carson.
It does move the needle for me, but I think it's all intel at this point. I think we spoke about it earlier, moves up and down. That matters if a guy is there for him. But I also look at it with the amount of receivers that they have here. And I think the Colts need a guy.
Yes.
I think Jacksonville may be in a situation. So the teams you're going to go up against may be interested in these same guys. But a lot of this is intel gathering also to see what make these guys tick. And truth be told, guys talk a lot in this process right here. They will divulge a lot as far as what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what gets you to tick. And I'll be real with you. I joke around and say it's the CIA type stuff that they do, but they'll gather this information, somewhat hold it against players like, hey, in this situation, he doesn't like going right. We're going to make him go right in these situations. So for a guy like Terrion Arnold, who's the first corner on a lot of people's boards, I don't know if he's a Titans like main target. If he falls to him, it's a different conversation if they move back and stuff. But the need that you have is on the offensive line first. I look at him as saying they're probably trying to figure out what makes him tick, depending upon if they have to see him or if there's a free agency situation come up later in his career.
Why wouldn't you bring this guy in for a top 30? First of all, you have top 30 visits for a reason. There's 30 of them. And to me, if cornerback is even an inkling of a need for this team in the future, even if it is building depth and just having these guys here, again, this is a position that they've had struggles at, and they've really had struggles in depth when we're talking about it. I mean, you've heard a lot of no-name guys and no knock on them because some of them coming in done their job. But if you want to be a competing Super Bowl team moving forward, yes, you have to have the quarterback. And that is the biggest thing that we need to get, solidified this next year with Will Levis. But the back end, we've said it time and time again, it is so hard to get really smart players back there that can be, difference makers. And we've seen it in L'Jarius Sneed in his career. I love Arnold. I think he is a really physical guy that could fit the mold of this defense, but it's likely he's going to be off the board. But why not just bring him in? Because it's Brian Callahan who said, you guys, when he first came here, he likes those big school guys. He likes those guys that are leaders. He likes the LSUs and the Alabama's pedigree programs. So you're going to see some of these guys like Kool-Aid McKinstry, like Arnold come in on these visits.
Yeah, so the 5 corners they've talked to, 2 of them are from Alabama, in Terrion Arnold and Kool-Aid McKinstry. Kalen Carson ranked 13th by Dane Brugler in the Beast at the Athletic out of Wake Forest. Jarvis Brownlee from Louisville, Chris Adams-Drain from Missouri. I think they're looking for options if they trade back in the first round. Because I think at that point, the Titans are admitting that if you go corner, so let's say hypothetically they get the number 23 overall pick in exchange for number 7 from the Minnesota Vikings, which I think is very unlikely. But for the sake of argument, let's say they do. If the number 23 overall pick and what your board tells you says that Terrion Arnold has somehow fallen because teams like Quinyon Mitchell or Nate Wiggins more, or perhaps Kool-Aid McKinstry is the top player on your board at that point, then if you are in a full rebuild, you take the best player on your board regardless of the fact if that's a corner. And you go into 2024 with 4 outstanding cornerbacks, 3 outstanding cornerbacks. I don't know, whatever it is. I mean, you could make the argument based on McCreary or based on a Kool-Aid McKinstry, either direction. But you give yourself options on the back end when you have got a division loaded with quarterback talent, loaded with it. And that has not been the case in the last decade of AFC South football. So I just think they're looking at options for what could be best available if they did move back in the first round. And I think corner is a very realistic one at that point because, again, Ramon has been banging this drum more than any of us. They will go defense likely before we think they will because they went all offense last year. And you just can't continue to neglect your defense in the draft for a second straight year.
We also saw they went more offense in free agency, too. So, I mean, yes, they added some key pieces on defense, but it's not like they added a ton.
Yeah. Well, I mean, technically, they got like 3 starters.
I think it's pretty equal on both sides.
I think it's more even. I think we get. I think, of course,
more
Calvin is the bigger signing. You know what I'm saying? That's the one that make you raise your eyebrows on it more than anything. And how long you gonna have Cheeto to the point on the corner?
Because Snead, Awuzie, Murray, and Sebastian Joseph Day, that's 4 starters you've added just on defense. And on offense, Ridley, Cushenberry, and
Cushenberry.
I think those are the only, and Pollard.
And the 2 linemen.
Yeah. Those are all like major names, though.
I think you've added more on defense so far.
Starters.
I feel like on defense as starters.
Yeah, you've added 4 starters on defense.
Yeah.
And you got 2 on offense. Well,
2.5.
Calvin,
Yeah.
2.5.
Kenneth
Calvin
Murray.
With
Cush,
Pollard.
3. Yeah. Well, 1A, 1B.
That's what I'm saying. Right. Coming up, time to complain. Pick anyone or anything in your week that has made you unhappy. Channel that energy into your telephone. 615-737-1045. You're Not That Guy is next.
Fellas, if you're feeling tired, grumpy, have noticed a lack of motivation and drive, have weight gain and loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone levels. At Low T Center, they make it easy to get your levels checked. It's just a simple blood test, and with their on-site lab, you'll get your results back in about 25 minutes. Low T Center is not your typical doctor's office. It's a concierge medicine for men. The physicians specialize in treating low testosterone with customized treatments for each patient, and most health insurance is accepted for treatment. And they have affordable and convenient treatment options, including physician-monitored self-inject treatments for established patients that ship directly to your home each month, so there's no need to drive to the center for weekly visits. Right now at Low T Center, it's only $25 to get your T levels tested with results back in about 25 minutes. Make your health and quality of life a priority. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment today online. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Tuesday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will is brewed by 8th and Rose to RKW. 615-737-1045 is how you complain with us. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh is our producer. I'm Will Bowling. You never complain about us, but maybe if you hypothetically wanted to, you could air those grievances straight to us.
Yeah,
We'll
we're
take
here
'em.
for it.
We'll
I'll
take
take
'em.
that. Absolutely.
It sounds like we will have another potential, maybe, Ramon Foster dramatic reading of a Taylor Swift ticket giveaway. I just heard my
Well, that
voice
was just you.
giving these away, but I would rather hear Ramon's voice than my voice. No one wants to hear me.
You say
And
that.
you didn't get to do it yesterday.
I did.
Yeah, you
I
did.
did.
Oh, you
I did
did?
it yesterday.
I
Absolutely.
remember that. I
It was
thought
at
that it was
8:12.
Oh, so you didn't end up ad-libbing, but you did get
You
some
did.
print.
Yeah. No, we went all the way through. We were walking around cash and everything.
I
Did
don't
the
know where
whole
I
thing.
was. I must
You're
have
not
checked
trying
out.
to win these tickets, Kayla. That's what that is.
It's okay. I
No.
zone out when Ramon talks too. It happens to me most cases.
Usually that only happens when I talk.
Oh, goodness.
It's okay. It's okay, Bert. There's a bucket and a towel and a table. We will walk
All
with you
right.
later.
Okay. All right. Time to complain. It's time for You're Not That Guy.
I never said
615-737-1045. And since I was traveling over the weekend, I am taking the leadoff spot
Oh, boy.
because when you travel, there's always someone that annoys you or something bad that happens. That is especially true when you go to the beach. If you've ever seen the episode of The Office where Michael Scott is sitting on a playground by himself with loaves of bread, just feeding fish, not fish, birds. This lady was maybe trying to do both. Feeding birds by throwing entire slices of bread out. You would be surprised to learn that actually happens. And at a beach that will remain nameless over the weekend, I'm sitting down with my family. We're going to have a nice beach day. We have chairs set up. There's a little umbrella that has been popped up. A drink with an umbrella in it may have been in my very near future at that point. And here sitting next to us, sitting on towels, are this couple. Now, this couple, this guy's wife starts to take little pieces of bread and throw it right in front of where we are sitting because there is a flock of pigeons that are nearby. Meanwhile, 5 more pigeons join as this lady is throwing little pieces of bread legitimately 1 foot from my foot to feed these tiny little birds. And for the rest of the beach day, these pigeons thought that we were their best friends in feeding them. If you were going to feed little bird brains with your own stupid little bird brain, do it in front of your space. Do not take little pieces of bread and throw them at other people. That way birds can go around other people and start eating and just, walking around and flocking towards other people that are trying to sit and have a very nice, peaceful beach day. Not all of us want bird brains and tiny little pigeons all around us while we are trying to sit and relax and listen to the sounds of the ocean. This lady even made eye contact with me and just started dying laughing. Thought it was hilarious. I did not think it was hilarious. In fact, I think you are not that guy.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Oh, she was spiteful.
She, for whatever reason, just thought it was the most, just like, oh, you have little birds around you. Like,
How old was this
These were
lady?
like massive pigeons. I don't know. I think everyone above a certain age is the same age, so I have no clue.
I could say that about young people, too.
I was told to never guess a woman's age, so I'm not going to.
But she wasn't like an older. I could just see like an older lady, like not really knowing better.
She was not elderly.
These are my
Okay.
friends.
Yeah.
She was not elderly.
The
no.
last time Will went to the beach, not like this year. I think it was last year. He had You're Not That Guy. I feel like your beach experiences. Yes, you did.
I don't remember what it was.
I don't remember what it was. It was a guy that time, I think. Oh, like setting up right next to you or something.
Oh, right, like a foot in front of us.
Yeah. I'm like, man, Will has had some interesting situations at the beach.
We can fight them if you want to.
You need a bodyguard or something with you that can just tell these people, like, this is not what you do. This is not beach etiquette.
I'm not that important.
Also, while we're on the topic, as the resident ornithologist in the studio, let's stop feeding birds bread. It does absolutely nothing for them. Birds get zero nutrition from bread, and it fills up their bellies. And birds, while they're small, need a necessary amount of calories every day to survive. So if you fill their belly up, they can't eat the calories they need. So let's stop saving bread for birds because it does nothing for them. Just expands in their bellies.
Bird talk.
What about for the geese? Same situation?
Same situation.
Okay.
Ducks, too.
Okay.
Bring them some seeds. Bring them your vegetable scraps. They can eat all
Then
that.
how the hell did this start? Because it's such a thing. You go to the pond at the park and you're throwing
Because bread floats.
to the duck.
Bread
Yeah.
floats and ducks could go get it. But and birds don't know. Birds aren't like, oh, actually, honey, I'm on a diet. Don't eat that bread. That's not low carb. You know that. Like, birds don't know. Birds are like, yum, food. Peck, peck, peck. You know, they don't know any difference.
It's not the 9-grain wheat bread.
Yeah,
It's not-
yeah, which might be nice because that has seeds in the crust.
It's like, oh, I'm on Whole30.
Is this paleo? Can I make this work?
I want sourdough. I prefer sourdough.
Who's up next? I got a couple.
You got a
Ready?
couple?
Really? Well,
It's
Wow.
It's not you're not that
Stalking
guy.
him.
It's you're not that
It's
guy.
one and the same, and it's for a
All right.
specific niche of people. Okay, you convertible drivers, stop getting so
geez.
eager. Okay, stop getting so eager. What I'm
also
telling you is
us at the
this.
beach.
Yeah, I hear this yesterday morning. I'm driving in. This dude, man, it was somewhat brisk yesterday morning, right? And he's driving in tucked under his windshield, trying to drive in. The sunroof was already dropped at like 5:15 in the morning. I'm like, bro, you can drive to work with the sunroof up and just take it down when you get out of work. That's not even the craziest one, okay? That guy's somewhat not that guy because you could have made a better decision in the morning. This next one though is just like, all right, we were in the Green Hills area of the store. The flex is the dude was in a Porsche 911 Turbo, okay? The issue I have is he put his wife in the back seat. And if you've ever seen a 2-seat Porsche, and what's crazy, I think they just bought an espresso machine or something. And so the espresso machine was in the front passenger seat. She's in the back seat sideways, cramped in behind him. And I'm thinking to myself, bro, let up the sunroof. We can see her squeeze in behind you. Like, make a smart decision. You're cool because that's a flex. That's a Porsche 911 Turbo you in, okay? But raise the sunroof, like raise the convertible so like she doesn't have to be exposed as being cramped in a 2-seater with an espresso machine in the front.
Why couldn't you put the espresso seat in the back?
It ain't no room, Kayla. It
There
just
was
ain't no
not
room.
that much room?
It's a converter. It's a Porsche.
Oh,
no, the seats ain't real back there. So for that guy that don't understand how to read the room and read the convertible and putting your wife behind you with the espresso machine in the front, you're not that guy. Like, you could have waited or drove the Range Rover instead.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Or just don't bring her,
She should have espressoed her displeasure.
right?
See, that was bad. That was as bad as it
bad.
gets.
It's not your best.
I
That
will
was as
say,
bad as it
I'll knock
gets.
you for that one.
Again, the flex is he was in a Porsche 911 Turbo, but he should have drove. If you got a Porsche, you probably got a Range. They usually work hand in hand. Tell me I'm lying. Tell me I'm lying.
Shut up.
I wish I was lying.
Oh goodness.
All right, Kayla.
I'll do. I usually go out of the sports world for this one. I'm going to stay in the sports world because we're fresh off the Masters, where Rory McIlroy wasn't great by any means and still kind of struggling to get that major. Look, I don't know who I'm mad at this point. I don't know who's not that guy at this point. Is it LIV? Is it PGA? Is it the players? More so, I'm mad at the PGA and LIV together because it has been just one confusing episode, dramatic thing after another. And I just want to know, like, what's the future? Is it one collaborate thing? Is it two things still? Where I don't know the last time I even saw LIV on TV on the CW network. And by the way, LIV is coming here to Nashville, a tournament in June. So you are going to see a lot of these guys. But at some point, I just want us to have one entity where we know like that is going to be golf's future. Instead, City AM, London's most read financial paper, came out with the report that Rory McIlroy could be close to joining LIV Golf for $850 million plus and an ownership stake in the league. And this, of course, is after all of this has gone down with Rory being the spokesperson for the PGA Tour saying, we are not leaving. We are not going and buying into this. And now this is rumored to be out there. Now, some say it's just that, a rumor. But at this point, y'all, I am just wanting this whole episode of Days of Our Lives to end and for them to figure out their crap, because it isn't fair in so many ways for these players who have stuck to their guns, but everybody is going and getting paid. I want money too. But at what point, you're going to get criticized if you end up leaving, and the PGA Tour doesn't know what it's doing. So for PGA, for LIV, for all of this crap, you're not that guy.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
There you go.
Oh,
I'm
man.
sick of the drama, man. I want to
That
just
would
watch
be
golf.
10 times more money than he's made in his career
Yeah.
on
That's
the
the
PGA
thing.
Tour.
How do you turn that down?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough ask.
Bert?
Something I can't turn down. Good shows when they come out. And that's why, now you guys got to stay with me here. I'm upset at the current situation with streaming devices, with streaming Netflix, Hulu, any of them. We need to come together and tell them, for the betterment of our entertainment, we need to stop putting the entire season out at one time, because I cannot help myself. I will watch it all in one day, and then I'll be back on the hunt. I'll be back looking for something to watch. And in my opinion, if I was the strategist behind this, when you put something out like that, you're hot for a week, maybe two. But if you put a show out every week, one episode, people will talk about you for multiple weeks on end. For example, the Fallout series that just got put on Amazon. I binged it all this weekend. It took me like 12 hours to watch 8 hours of TV. And I hate it because I'm looking for another show again. Yesterday, I watched all of the new Unlocked series on Netflix. It's a experiment they do in a jail where they give the prisoners more freedom to see how they react. I loved it. It was so good, and I watched every second of it yesterday. And now, again, back on the hunt for another show. Stop giving it to us at one time. We can't stop ourselves. I can't stop myself. Give us weekly releases again. Help me be a better person. Streaming devices, services, whoever the hell you are.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
It's strong, and I do feel like you get back to the way big shows like Game of Thrones were discussed right after the episode ended if you just put out the episode week by week. However, for me, I will still start another show while I'm waiting for the next episode to come out.
Sure. Yeah, but you're still waiting on it. You're like Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday, I know we get new Righteous Gemstones or whatever it is. It makes me want to talk about it more. Disney Plus has the right idea.
Apple
Disney
does it too.
Okay, Apple with Ted Lasso, because I remember you having to wait on the Lasso
and I'm
episodes.
watching Sugar.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm about to start that too.
Yeah.
So somebody else told me that was good. So that's good. I need a weekly appearance somewhere I could just show up and know I'm going to watch TV.
615-737-1045. Donovan in Bowling Green leads us off for You're Not That Guy. What's up, Donovan?
Hey, man, you guys are always funny. One thing is every time I hear the word switch, every time it says switch please in my brain for some reason.
It's not a bad thing.
No.
But,
not.
but yesterday I'm sitting there and drive a truck, and then I'm unload, get done, and the guy takes two in the middle of the floor. So general, I just want to say, guys, not that guy. Thank you.
I think your connection
Yeah,
might
you're
not be
done,
that
actually.
guy.
Okay, well, I hate that I have to
Damn.
be the one to tell you guys this story. So he drives trucks for Dollar General, and he unloaded.
Why are you laughing?
Why do you
He unloaded the truck at the Dollar General he was going to, and when he got there, somebody had pooped on the floor.
Oh, my gosh.
That guy, and he wanted to say that. I wanted him to have to tell you that story.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not
We
that
got
guy.
to try Donovan again. Donovan is still on the line. Donovan, you still got us?
Yes. Yeah.
All right, we can hear you a little better now. What in the world happened?
Hey, I mean, I was sitting there and I was like, man, something smells really, really bad in here. And I'm like, what is that? So I'm like, hey, I'm really just trying to get out of this store and get to my next one. Can I go? And she's like, yeah, give me a second. And at that point, we all smelled it and walked around the corner and almost stepped in it, and it was just right there.
What, was there a dog nearby, or was this from a human being?
This is a human being.
Oh, my God.
Do you know who the human is?
We didn't know. We thought it was some old guy, but we didn't want to speculate.
Oh, my
Oh
gosh.
my!
So it was an ish and go.
Oh my gosh! That's terrible.
Well, Donovan, that's a pretty crappy work day. We apologize that you had to go through that.
They're definitely not that guy.
Dang.
Donovan wins.
They need to catch the culprit.
That's crazy.
I can't believe. Oh, now your phone magically works once I say poop on the floor.
Honestly.
Oh, my God.
That's like Michael Scott in his office got to rip the rugs out.
Oh, God.
Todd Packer. He's everywhere. Eric in Nashville next. Go ahead, Eric.
Let's go, Eric.
Guys, hey guys, I don't know if I can follow that, but in all seriousness, my You're Not That Guy is the Metro Nashville Airport Authority, and you've probably heard about this. So apparently, Monell's, of course, is a historic restaurant that's out there, and this Sunday is their last Sunday of operations before they have to close. Their lease is up April the 30th, and if the Metro Nashville Airport Authority wanted to, they could come in at 12:01 May 1st and tear that place down. A lot of people believe they're going to do that within 30 days. The owners tried to work with them, and they're not willing to work with them. I mean, they serve about 9,000 customers a day, not only local Nashvillians, but as well as people before they fly out and people that are coming in from flights at the airport. And here's the thing that makes it far worse, guys. The airport authority, because of an environmental impact study, even if they demolish the building, they're not going to be able to use that land for 4 years. It makes no sense. In fact, the owner of Monell's has said he is willing to pay to move the building because he wants to get it preserved as part of a historic landmark out of his own pocket. And the airport still is saying no. It is ridiculous. It was one of my mother's favorite restaurants. We went there for a birthday a number of years ago, and I guess it was mid-January last year, the day we buried her. Our family and relatives went out there to eat at the airport, and the airport authority is being jerks. So Metro Nashville Airport Authority, you are not that guy.
It's an
You're not that
excellent
guy,
complaint.
pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
That is an excellent complaint. And Monell's
Stinks,
is
man.
a Nashville institution.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
A Nashville institution. That is part of what locals feel like is the soul of Nashville that leaves just a little bit more every single year, is because of things like this that continue to happen.
And the biggest thing is, why won't they just let them put it on a trailer and move it? They won't even, like, what? I am so confused
Probably
at this.
traffic logistics. I mean,
It's
I ain't
just
gonna
so
make no
bad,
excuse
though.
for it because I feel Eric on that. We ain't getting no. Even Savage said we needed the Eric laugh. That wasn't no laughing matter.
No,
right
he
there.
was upset about that. And I
I'm
agree
with
with
you.
him.
Just call on me, Eric. We can go do something. We throw a rock at something if you want to.
We can go beat them up if you want to. We got to stop answering it with violence, Ramon. I know that the whole tagline used to be
Go
choose
waterboard.
violence, but you want to beat too many people up in the street. Eventually, people are going to get beat up. They're going to be like, Ramon did it. Ramon always talking about beating somebody up.
Hey, we gotta, y'all know this is in jest, though. Okay, I gotta start putting that disclaimer out there because you're right. I find myself time and time again whenever I do have to approach somebody. Big black guys, all I'm saying, like
We were at the Preds, and this
That
old
point
woman
now.
was there. She was like standing there, and Ramon's like, "Excuse me," and she had to fall down. She was like, "Oh no, I'm sorry. Please don't beat me up in the street, Ramon."
615-737-1045. We can continue. You're not that guy coming up. We can also take a look at the Olympic roster for U.S. basketball that came out last night. Some big names we'll tell you about next.
Hey, it's Kayla Anderson for QC Kinetics. The future of medicine is here. QC is the nation's leader in the most exciting revolution in pain movement that we've seen in decades. And we're talking about regenerative medicine. So no more tired, achy joints. And if your joint pain is keeping you from what you love to do, you need to call QC Kinetics today. Surgery, steroids, drugs, those are on the way out. This is on the way in. Those are no longer your best options. Regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics is transforming lives with innovative treatments that deliver lasting results, and everybody likes that. QC Kinetics is under the leadership of National Medical Director Dr. Mitchell Scheinkupp, and Dr. Scheinkupp is a pioneer in this field specifically. He's got over 20 years of clinical work, tons of research, teaching, and publishing, and he wants to get you relief with a needle, not a knife. So call QC Kinetics today to learn more about some exciting options. Get a free consultation at 615-249-4024. It's simple. Just call 615-249-4024.
Tuesday morning, rolling right along on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW is brewed by 8th and Roast. Coming up in 15 minutes, Tennessee gets good and bad news out of the transfer portal in the same day yesterday between a couple of different sports. We'll tell you about that as we reset the headlines at halftime of the show with Austin Price of VolQuest coming up in a half hour. But yesterday, Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN gives us the 2024 Paris Olympics men's basketball roster. A who's who of professional hoopers, one might say. Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid, Devin Booker, Tyrese Halliburton, Anthony Edwards, Drew Holiday, Bam Adebayo, and Anthony Davis as Team USA looks for gold in its 5th straight Olympics.
Oh, my gosh.
Strong.
I know.
Very strong.
What a lot. I actually thought Joel Embiid would play for his national team. I'm glad he's playing for the United States on this one. But, God, dog, what? And what it is, it's the last stand. I think Curry, LeBron in this one, KD in this
Curry's
one.
first Olympics, isn't it?
It is.
First one been a part of, but he's also
Steph's
aging.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I think everybody's going to make sure if this is, 4 years now, I don't think LeBron's going to be hooping.
No.
But to have this be his last stand, like how do you get this many people show up like this?
I mean, I think it's a big thing just because they've been known for being that, team that dominates over the last several years. I mean, heck, forever pretty much. And so if this is LeBron's last stand, I would think they know that. And to get all these guys, I think it's just, you got to do it, right? I mean, you got to, if you're going to have him for the last time specifically. And look, some of these other guys are getting up there too. Now, how long they play in terms of, Kevin Durant and stuff, I don't know. But you might as well go out, at least for this year with LeBron, and do it the right way with a stacked roster like that.
I think it mainly happened, and we have Ron Slade coming up at 9:20, and he obviously knows way more about this than I do, but it's because the U.S. got embarrassed in the FIBA Basketball World Cup last year.
Yeah, I think it was Schroeder. I think in Germany.
Dennis Schroeder in Germany.
Yeah.
Serbia runners up. Canada was 3rd. U.S. got 4th and put a C team out there against everybody else's A team and got embarrassed.
And this is going to be good competition this year in the Olympics. Like, I think, the U.S. is the favorites, obviously, but it's going to be good competition.
I can't wait to see what this is going to look like. The biggest star of them all, I think, to come out of this, of course, those other guys have set their Hall of Fame, but Anthony Edwards, Ant-Man. Ant-Man is a monster.
He's
if y'all
exploded.
hadn't watched, NBA, his games, Ant-Man is a monster. That's why, again, that's why the NBA is what it is, and everybody in the world wants to play in the NBA because of the talent that a young fella like him has. I'll be watching this one closely because, again, you want to talk about star power. Like, we're talking about the women's game star power. Like, this is the ultimate star power situation. I absolutely love the fact that those dudes have committed to this.
Yeah, because that got fun when you had Pau Gasol playing against Kobe Bryant as teammates on the Los Angeles Lakers. And in the Kobe Bryant documentary, there's it's the U.S. Dream Team, Redeem Team documentary where Kobe talks about, I wanted on the first possession. I knew Pau was going to try to screen. I ran straight through his chest. Sent a message. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie, specifically that documentary. It's phenomenal. Yeah. A lot of those clips circulate from time to time when there's anniversaries of Kobe Bryant doing things. Man, he didn't even help up Pau Gasol afterwards. He was like, that's my brother, but I was sending a message. We were not brothers that day.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're representing your country, right? And I know Slovenia, with a couple of great guys, obviously they have Luka and Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Giannis is Greek.
Greek, yeah.
Yeah, Slovenia is just Luka.
Okay.
Yeah, so Greece will be
he'll
Giannis.
represent. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So
Greece.
Luka will represent Slovenia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's right.
Of course. I mean,
Here's
Greece can take Giannis's brothers. I mean, that'll
yeah,
be
they
entertaining.
could. They definitely could.
One of them, Thanos, I think is his name.
Thanasis.
They're part owner of the
of Nashville
the Nashville
Soccer
Club. Hey, all
That's
I'm
correct.
telling you is this: nepotism is real. Even
Hey,
from
I'm going to have to cheer for the owners of the team that I broadcast for. You know that, right?
Yeah, right.
I doubt that.
Let's go Greece.
Team USA on this one, baby. I can't wait to see them put their
absolutely.
foot on their
Yeah.
necks, man.
They
got
need to.
a good balance of old and young. And LeBron, I mean, the year that he's having, not slowing down at all either.
Coming up, Tennessee gets good news and bad news in one day. We'll also give you the details on transfer portal football window that just opened. But there is one aspect of it that Tennessee cannot participate in. We'll talk about that next.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
So many people trust Two Rivers Ford. Football players, working moms, business owners. Why? Because Two Rivers Ford has been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
What's going on? Just a hair before 8 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. The Eagles and wide receiver Devonta Smith agreed to a 4-year, $90 million extension, keeping him in Philadelphia through the 2028 season. Smith already had a $15 million fifth-year option that was picked up. Tax on another 3 years and $75 million with this new contract. Smith had durability concerns coming into the league due to his size, but has only missed one game in his 3 years in the NFL. While some wide receivers are getting paid, the other ones are playing the waiting game, as CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson have skipped their voluntary workouts, as reported by Ian Rappaport. Both are in the final year of their deal, waiting for their teams to pay up. And the WNBA draft was last night. Some of the highlights: Caitlin Clark first overall to the Indiana Fever, no surprise there. Cameron Brink goes second, while Tennessee's Rakia Jackson goes fourth, both to the LA Sparks. And Chicago Sky selecting Angel Reese seventh overall. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second half of the show, hour number 3, starts right now on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW is brewed by 8th and Roast, and VolQuest's Austin Price will join us coming up in 20 minutes. Tennessee loses a linebacker to the transfer portal yesterday, and the football spring transfer window is wide open. 615-737-1045 is how you join our discussion with Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh. I'm Will Bowling. Elijah Herring, a Murfreesboro product from Riverdale High School. He was the first commitment in the 2022 recruiting class for Josh Heupel and his staff. Yesterday, enters his name in the transfer portal.
All the part of it, man. Again, I'll say this: when it comes down to, schools getting better, talent, ability also now to be able to just jump in the portal, because, if you got guys that are younger than you or same age as you or a little bit older that are playing better, you move down the depth chart. We used to have to stick this out and be like, all right, we'll wait on the injury or we'll just continue to battle through. These days, there will be a place for Elijah Herring to go to, and given the opportunity to go play. He got a little bit of it last year, and, he thanked UT and state guy believing in him, and opportunities for him in some other place. It sucks because, again, when it comes down to just how sports is crafted, and, people talk about how it hardens you and shape you and those types of things. I won't say it's a cop-out to leave in situations like this, but it does somewhat dampens how I feel about it. Mm-hmm. But I say that, and the same situation happened in the pros. If we can be honest, it seems to me is what Kenny Pickett did with Pittsburgh whenever they signed Russell Wilson. Like, I hate what this looks like. Even if it ain't true, maybe the coaches even ask him, like, hey, you should go in the portal. You're not going to play much unless it's special teams.
That's interesting, too, because, so he came in for Keenan Peely last year, right?
After
the injury. Yeah. But before that, more like of a reserve player. So you wonder, is he just like, okay, because Peely's back and I feel like I've proven myself enough to be a starter, so I'm going to hop in that transfer portal. Plus, I played for the Vols. They're starting to get their name back out there in terms of a big time program. So you see another school with an opportunity maybe that's like, okay, you could be a starter. Is that really what these guys are thinking nowadays? It's just they don't want to wait behind the next guy.
I think for Tennessee, it's the fact that he was made a starter after Keenan Peely got hurt. Not only is Peely back, but so is Arion Carter.
Right.
The inside linebacker from Smyrna, who was a 5-star by some recruiting services at the end of that recruiting cycle a couple of years ago. He was hurt for the majority of the season as a true freshman last year. And from all reports, it sounds like sophomore inside linebacker Jeremiah Thielander out of the state of Georgia is a guy this staff likes a lot. And I think, too, you have the aspect of Brian Jean-Marie is gone back at Michigan, and you have a new position coach who did not recruit you to Tennessee, and William Inge, who has taken over at that position.
Yeah. And of course, like you just said, there's opportunity for him somewhere else. And we talked to Hubs on Friday, and he said that Jeremiah Thielander was probably the most improved guy, one of the most improved guys over the course of spring practice. And this is that final opportunity before conditioning, before some men of summer posters come out and stuff like that, where lifting, you start to redefine yourself before training camp. And as it stands right now, and I'll be honest with you, we snuck into the coach's office one year. Just to see the depth chart.
Wait, they didn't know that.
Yeah.
When was this?
Wow.
This was, I think, I saw going into our sophomore year.
Where were you on the depth chart?
I was 3 at the time. Mayo, I think, was first or second.
Yeah.
So it was really
He played a lot early.
He did play a lot early. Inky was on there.
Nice.
But yeah, it was seeing where you are. And you know what? I had to grind it out. I think that year also I became most improved. For the
right
spring
tackle
game.
at that point?
Right tackle, swing guy essentially at that point. But it was in these situations, you got to go.
Sure.
That's really funny.
Except, Will. In the era of no information, we were trying to find some information, man. Oh my gosh. This is when we were still in Gibbs before we moved out and stuff. But it was around the springtime when we was trying to figure out where guys were situated at. And now because Thielander had an awesome spring and Arian Carter had a good rookie year, freshman year.
And I don't blame him for necessarily being like, I gotta hit the portal in terms of Harry. I think at some point you want to be the starter. You've had a taste of it. And if you see the writing on the wall, which it seems to be in this case, especially after spring, and you're seeing what's going on with your role, I would say I don't blame him. I don't fault him for that.
I just, because he has a brother on the team that just signed also, I think, of course, it may be better for him to leave because, again, when young bro come in and he probably is going to play before him because he's an outside rusher.
Yeah, a different position.
Position.
Caleb Herring.
It could look a certain type of way, big bro not doing it, and I'm glad for their sake. Edwin, as far as we know, is sticking around. But the fact that, that Elijah wants to move on, you got to support it. I've seen his parents at the game, they're super supportive and stuff like that, too. It's crushing. It sucks is what it is.
The one caveat to this that I think people forget, and I don't blame anyone for forgetting because the transfer portal is more difficult to understand than BC calculus when you're in high school. You cannot transfer within the SEC in the spring transfer window. So there is no chance Elijah Herring lands at an SEC school. There is also no way that Tennessee can add a player from within the Southeastern Conference in football in the second transfer window. So the transfer window opened today. It closes April 30th. Players do not have to decide what school they are going to attend in that window, but they do have to enter the portal by April 30th. Otherwise, they are locked into their current team until the end of the 2024 season. So you don't have to decide until you want to, but you have to enter between now and April 30th, and you cannot transfer within the SEC. That is a conference rule. I would expect there will be more Tennessee players to enter the transfer portal. I would expect your favorite team will also have players enter the transfer portal in these next 2 weeks. It's just going to happen everywhere.
If I can be real, I know there are some players that I play with that would have jumped into the portal too, given this opportunity. It's all about playing. It is.
And do you get a taste of that in spring football? Do you get a feel? Because this is clearly right after a lot of these teams have had their spring games.
Yeah.
They've gone through spring practice. Is that something that you realize then just in terms of the reps?
Only time guys got pushed out or were out is if they got in trouble in the springtime. You got more free time and stuff like that. So the idea of, okay, well, you've been in trouble, your grades are slipping. This is when the academics, our mindset wasn't like this because it was so hard to leave. Then you had to sit if you did leave or go down a level. It wasn't where if you go to a smaller school, another team is going to come get you back. We're watching right now the Darlington, right? The commitment from
getting to that in just a minute.
Yeah, him. He was at Iowa State, I think.
And then went to Hofstra.
Yeah. And now he's going back up to a Division I team.
Darlington Dubar.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Darlington Dubar. Yes, he was high, went low, and then he's going back up. Back then, if you went to respectfully Carson Newman after leaving UT, you was stuck.
You were there.
Nobody's about to come study your tape to come get you. Now, there are people watching these tapes because it's so plentiful. Everybody got all the film, and if you are balling, the word is out. So that's what's so different these days is you do have a farm league when it comes down to the smaller schools developing you.
Darlinston Dubar is Tennessee's first big commitment in the transfer portal for Rick Barnes in Tennessee basketball. Averaged 17.8 points per game for Hofstra last season. At 6'8", he shot 40% from three. Made 93 triples last season.
93 triples. You got to have that outside threat.
He can go inside too.
Yeah, size out of this world.
Three-level scorer.
And
he's
defense.
so fun to watch.
And defense. We'll see what Barnes do with a guy like this time around because, again, with Dalton, you had to teach defense. He came there for defense. The offense is easy. Savage has always told me that. It's like the object of the game is to see which stop you can get. Everybody can score. And I was like, somewhat makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's my football side coming out on me. It's like the object is to stop them from scoring. And that's from the tip-off, gaining that possession, and, those jump balls on the ground, getting the ball after halftime and stuff. And that's where, hopefully, for a guy like him coming under the Barnes system was very defensive-centric. You can get a lot more production out of him and hopefully springboard himself into a top pick also.
Still got a lot of spots left. Darlinston Dubar, the Hofstra transfer, did speak with VolQuest yesterday. Talked about what he liked about Rick Barnes. Said, one thing I like about him is how honest he is. He does not beat behind a bush, he says. Sugarcoats nothing. If you don't want to hear it, he's still going to tell you. That's one thing I picked up from being on a visit. That's the one thing I like about him is how real he is. He tells you straight up.
I love that.
Rick Barnes can sense the kind of personality that a kid has, whether they are a transfer or a high school player. It just seems like that is one of Rick Barnes' strengths, is finding the kind of guy that he wants to make a part of his program. The kind of guy that's going to buy into the "it's not about me" motto that team has, the INAM. Is you very rarely see a player come in and not sound like that for Rick Barnes, whether it's at the transfer portal or at a high school.
Yeah. And it's like you are finding these players like he did in Dalton Connect, which can be beneficial to your team as a guy who has experience. We've seen it now with tournament teams. When you have that experience, you've had even kids who have gone through adversity and maybe are looking to go to a place where they want to play their best basketball in their final year or so of college basketball. And I think Rick Barnes has been a guy that you can go to and say, okay, this is a guy that's going to make me feel better or play better, because he is going to be just out there with his information and how he was with Dalton Connect. And like, Dalton was like, I want to play better defense. And Rick's like, yeah, we're going to get you there. So I think it's a good spot for some of these guys that are looking to end their career with a bang, but it's also beneficial to Tennessee's team.
It is. I also think Rick Barnes is a names guy, too. All the dudes he's bringing got crazy names. Darlinston Dubar. Darlingston.
There's no G.
Darlinston.
Like Darlin.
Darlinston. There you go.
Darlinston Dubar. You got Dalton Connect, which should be just necked at the end, but it's not. Josiah Jordan James. Santiago Vescovi, which turns into a different name.
What about Igor Milicic?
See what I'm saying?
He's the one on his visit right now.
Likes complicated names.
Charlotte transfer, 6'10", 3-point shooter. Shot 37% from three last year.
6'10"?
Started his career at Virginia. You want Roddy Gale as well, Ohio State transfer?
Might as well.
What about Belmont's Cade Tyson?
Come on. Cade Tyson, about the simplest name ever right there. I don't know if he going to fit well.
Cade Tyson, chicken.
Coming up next, we will talk with Austin Price about those additions and subtractions within Tennessee athletics and where Tennessee could shop in the transfer portal with Austin coming up next. Breaking through the glass, it is Austin Price. Tuesdays on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. VolQuest and On3 at Austin Priceless, where you find him on Twitter. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling with you. What's going on, Austin? How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you doing?
Good.
I want to first off just say condolences the fact that you had to watch a Tennessee orange and white game on Masters Saturday. I feel like there would have been better use of all of our time than watching, no disrespect to the orange and white game, but I mean, is it the last spring scrimmage that happens behind closed doors maybe the better evaluation tool for coaches than the orange and white game these days?
Yeah, I mean, I considered last Thursday's practice to be the last practice of spring ball. I mean,
there you go.
80% of the starting offensive line didn't go. I mean, you had numerous guys out. You learn more about individuals. Okay, he's a pretty good athlete. Okay, he can run. All right, he's quick or shifty or whatever. But I don't think you learn anything about specific units. What did you learn about the Tennessee running back unit? You don't know because most of the O line was out. The defensive line went, so you got an elite D line against a bunch of young kids, and so you're not going to learn much about the Tennessee running game and the running back. So for the staff, they know because they've been in there every day at practice, but not for the fans that went to the game. So that's why they make the Masters app.
That's right.
I can watch it on my phone while I'm standing on the sideline.
That's a great point. Great point. Austin Price at Austin Priceless on Twitter with us. So, Austin, let's start with the big news from yesterday as Elijah Herring, Middle Tennessee native, enters his name in the transfer portal. Why do you think he decided to do that?
Well, I think he wants to start, and his ability to start at Tennessee was cloudy. I mean, Arion Carter, even though he's been out for spring, he's going to keep pushing. Jeremiah T-Lander is coming hard. Kent Peely has got a locked-in spot. And so I think for Elijah, he didn't want to get to this fall and be playing 15 to 20 snaps a game, having played so many last year due to all the injuries. So I think for him, he decided to go ahead and make the move. And obviously he can't go SEC to SEC, but I mean, he can end up at a Purdue, a Michigan State, a Louisville. Although I'm not sure he goes to Louisville, they're losing everybody. He can go to Georgia Tech, a number of different stops in the Big 12 and the Big 10 and the ACC. So all things to watch, going forward. And Tyler Barron is on the move again. I said everybody's leaving Louisville. He has went from Tennessee to Ole Miss to Louisville now to somewhere else. That coming out just moments ago.
Crazy. So where will he be looking next then, Austin? That's interesting about Barron. And, I mean, hypothetically, not to say he's going to come back to Tennessee, but you can't transfer SEC to SEC. Like, does he count as even being an Ole Miss player? Or, and for all intents and purposes for this process, he is now a Louisville player who could come back in the SEC?
He could go to Ole Miss if they would take him.
There you go.
I'm not sure they would.
Sure.
I think technically he could even come back here, but Tennessee won't go that route. They're too full on the D-line now. And with that said, his good buddy, former Innsworth player, Keyshawn Lawrence, has re-entered the transfer portal. See, I think this is the problem with college football. And I think this makes all those kids look bad because when you're bouncing around, when you stay someplace for 2 months and go, I didn't like how they talked to me in practice that day. I'm going in the transfer portal. I mean, it was bad enough as is, and now they've created this awful scenario where coaches are having to literally re-recruit players every 5 minutes, and that's what's going to drive coaches out of college football, and it's what's going to take fans away from college football because fans are going to get tired of players just hopping around. I mean, I don't think fans mind the transfer portal. It can help you, it can hurt you, but there's got to be some guardrails to it. Just like there's got to be some guardrails to NIL, and right now there's none of either.
Austin, I hope you had our video stream pulled up to see Ramon Foster's face when you mentioned these two guys are going back in the portal because he is upset. Go for it.
Can I talk?
You
I can't
may.
talk
You
right
may.
now. I cannot.
You're speechless,
He's all
but
choked
let's
up.
go.
I'm
Go on.
speechless. Austin, what if this wasn't a PG like show? Okay, like it'd be crazy with what I have to say to you. Like, what are they? So let me ask you this: if you know, or can speculate or give an answer, as it pertains to Ole Miss having a bag, because the portal's a part of that, and then Louisville, of course, having a bag also. Is there an initial payment that's given to these guys that they have to give back? Because there has to be something for a dude like Tyler or anybody else. I'm just throwing his name out there because you brought it up. But like, is there money paid back? Was there money given when it comes down to these transfers? Also,
Well, normally they're paid monthly, and so he would have been paid for the months he was there, and now he'll no longer be paid by Louisville or by Ole Miss or whoever, whatever school. So. It's not like a lump sum you get when you first go there and you got to give it back. I mean, they're normally again, I mean, every school can be different, but normally they're paid monthly. So, if you're making, $120,000, you're getting $10,000 a month. So I mean, again, I'm just using that. That's just the easiest math to do. I didn't want to say 100,000 and then have to do the math in my head per month. So that's kind of where it's at. But, I mean, again, I think a lot of these kids just get bad advice. Grass isn't always greener. And I think that's the thing is everybody hops in, thinking, oh, man, that sounds fun. I'm going to go to the portal. I'm going to go to a new school. They're going to take care of me. And then you get there and you realize, man, I had it pretty good at the last spot I was at. And that's not just a Tennessee thing. That's a lot of schools. I mean, grass isn't always greener. And, sadly, a lot of kids are finding that out through the portal. Now, some are finding that it is greener, a lot greener, but, sometimes it's not.
Austin Price with us this morning. I think I've gathered my bearings, okay? Austin, in your conversation, because you talk to parents, you talk to the kids also, have you somewhat become being able to guide these parents and kids in making these decisions? I know, like, I'd rather the good ones go to the Vols, of course, but when you look at how you have to talk to these parents and kids, do they lean on you for information? Because, again, it's a matter of playing for a lot of people and not chasing the shield, not chasing the name, not chasing the university, or sometimes the coach. Like, am I going to play? Are those questions that come up, or is it how much can I get paid? Which one are you hearing more? Can I play, or are you going to pay me?
Well, in most cases, they're going to chase money. Elijah Herring's is not that. For him, he just wants to play. So, Tobey Waka, I think, just wanted to play. And so that's why, he could very well end up back at Tennessee. But they do gone. And so, again, I think in most instances, though, it is, hey, man, somebody gets in their ear, whoever it is, right? There are people out there everywhere. Gets in the kid's ear. Man, I think we can, if we go in the portal, I think, we could, force the school you're at to pony up, or we could leave and go get you more money, and then sometimes when a school's like, no, we're good, and they call their bluff on it, kids kind of get stuck. So, again, it's one big game of chicken, and you just don't want to be Biff and end up in the manure pile.
It is. I think a 5th round pick for a guy, 4th or 5th round for a guy like Tyler would have been better than this situation right now. I hope he get great guidance and find the university he wants to go to, man. I agree.
I think Tyler should have went to the NFL because I think he would have been. He would have tested well. He's a really good football player. I agree with you wholeheartedly, Ramon.
With that being said, a Tennessee prospect jumped into the portal from Ohio State. Dallin Hayden.
Yep.
Is in it also. What's the situation with Cam Seldon? Do you expect the Vols to go after a guy like him as they evaluate the running back position after spring?
They've had discussions in the last 24 to 48 hours. I think they're still ongoing. I'm not so sure they go after a back. I don't believe they will. I don't think that marriage will happen with Dallin. I've been asked a lot about that the last 24 hours or so. I don't think that'll happen. But Dallin's a good football player, and he'll land on his feet, and I have no doubt if given the opportunity, he'll thrive wherever he goes. I think for Tennessee, Cam's going to be back, depending on how quickly he heals, he could be back by August. But I mean, more than likely September, and you're talking about a few games that you'd have to manage without him. But I don't think they want to stunt his growth by bringing in somebody else. And yeah, it's one of those situations where you have to kind of look and see where you're at. Like, do they feel like they can manage with Peyton Lewis, who they did not see go through spring because he was out with an off-season surgery, the early enrollee, Deshaun Bishop and Khalifa Keith. And if they feel like they can manage those first few games, then I don't think they'll go to the portal. But again, I think they were still having discussions on that as of yesterday.
Austin Price of VolQuest joining us like he does every Tuesday. So, Austin, are they eyeing anyone specifically or just position-wise now that the transfer portal has opened up?
I think a few weeks ago you might have said they might look at a left guard spot. I'm not sure they do that either. I think a lot of it depends on, who they lose. If they lost a safety, they'd probably go try to replace him with another safety. If they lost, a defensive lineman, I don't think they'd replace with anybody because they're so deep there. I think it just depends on the position. Tennessee feels pretty good about where they're at, and if anybody else goes in, I don't think it'll be anybody that is a starter. Anybody that is someone Tennessee can't replace. Again, I don't think there'll be anybody that's marquee going in from Tennessee.
When you talk about the orange and white game, and I know, glorified practice for all it's worth, but what did you learn about the backup quarterback position, if anything?
Well, I thought both those guys flashed. They did a nice job. Again, it's a tailored scrimmage to, kind of give the fans a taste. But I mean, if Merklinger or Gaston Moore had to go into a game, I think they could manage. I don't think Tennessee can manage for games, but could they manage a game? Yes. And again, I think Merklinger will continue to get better. Gaston Moore knows the offense inside and out, and both of them are capable.
VolQuest Austin Price at Austin Priceless on Twitter, where you follow him for the latest Vols news. Switching to the hardwood, Austin, Darlington Dubar gives Tennessee its first transfer portal commitment for men's basketball yesterday. Cade Tyson, the Belmont transfer, was on campus over the weekend. Igor Milicic, the Charlotte big man, is there right now. What is Tennessee's next priority in the basketball front in the portal, and how real are their chances with the North Carolina native and Cade Tyson, who will be at UNC this week?
Yeah, I think it comes down to Tennessee, North Carolina. The kids from Charlotte. A lot of those kids always grew up wanting to go to Carolina or Duke. So does he just want to go home? I think that's going to be boiled down to the question. I think Tennessee's done a nice job with him, but sometimes even football, baseball, basketball, whatever recruiting you're doing, sometimes you don't have a chance from the jump if a certain school gets involved. And so I'll be interested to see how this goes, but North Carolina is definitely in the mix there, and his visit will probably tell the tale of that recruitment and how that goes this weekend.
This is just fascinating. I'm still lost for words over here, Austin, as it pertains to this type of stuff that's happening. As far as the young backup offensive lineman coming out of the spring game, how did Vice and Lang fare? The young freshmen that came in that practices, how did they do as far as building depth and getting those guys reps? Because that's one of those things. When you have a plethora of talent, you got to make sure you're still developing. Are they still doing a good job of that?
Yeah, I think they're doing a nice job. I think they really like Jesse Perry, the young man from Middle Tennessee Christian School.
Yep.
He hadn't done a whole lot of pass sets. They basically ran the single wing there at MTCS, which led to a state title. But for Jesse individually, I think there's a learning curve. But he's done enough this spring that gives Tennessee a lot of hope about what he can be going forward. Vice and Lang, I thought, did pretty well in the orange and white game. He is, it's been a learning curve, learning center, snapping the ball, that type of thing. But I think he's continued to get better. I think Sham Umarov had a really nice spring at left guard and has put himself in the mix there for fall. So, I think, they like some of these young linemen. They just need them to continue to progress.
He is Austin Price, never in the transfer portal when it comes to Tuesdays at 8:20 here on RKW. Great stuff as always, Austin. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thanks,
yes,
Austin.
sir. A tradition unlike any other. Austin Price, Tuesdays on the show. All right, so to be specific now, Louisville is expected to lose 5 offensive linemen and defensive lineman Tyler Barron, who has started 18 games at Tennessee. And then you have another Nashville native, again, as Austin said, his teammate at Ensworth in Key Lawrence, who started at Tennessee, transferred to Oklahoma, had just transferred to Ole Miss, and now he is looking to leave Ole Miss.
So what's going on with Jeff Brom and his team there?
Well, this is another thing that's been widely talked about too. And at least some of the stuff that I've read is like they commit to these NILs also. Like it's also, as Austin just said,
Sure.
it's promise of monthly payments.
Mm-hmm.
With that, like sometimes the fans don't donate the way you need them to. I'm not saying these situational checks bouncing and stuff like that, but some schools have it more than others is what I'm saying. I'm not sure if this is their situation or these guys, these 5 linemen from Louisville just aren't going to make it. But the conversation is not everybody is very cash heavy. You know what I'm saying? They're not as fluid as you think. And let's say he used that $120,000. Like when it comes down to you paying a guy that $10,000 and that $10,000 don't drop, like there's a lot more of that is actually happening too, Kayla. Not just in the SEC, but all across when you're trying to get a guy and then you get him on campus. Oh, you're gonna love me then.
Overpromise, underserved.
Yeah, and well, no, under overpromise and not paid.
Just
They're delivered.
Yeah, underserved their money.
Yeah, and so that is actually happening. It really is. You know how you always see people like, man, that person's rich, and you realize, no, that person checked the check. Like a lot of these NIL collectives are like that too. And I'm not sure if that's these guys' situation, but losing 5 linemen?
Well, and I think too, you get this idea that because you are making that amount of money, maybe a position coach shouldn't treat you the way he is treating you. Like if you're a defensive lineman getting paid by Tennessee, let's say, again, this is a totally hypothetical situation, you better still be ready for Ronnie Garner to treat you the same as the walk-on freshman. Because that's how Ronnie Garner coaches guys. He's going to chew you out of the practice field and love on you off it, right? Like, I think a lot of times guys are just, unfortunately, a victim of the people around them. And I think that is the number one thing that is happening is families, coaches, AAU coaches, and people who don't have the best interests of players are telling those players what they should do with their own brand, with their own money.
Even teammates.
And if a coach starts talking to you negatively after you just got promised, again, let's say hypothetical, $10,000 a year. Oh, hey, he can't talk to you like that. You should go somewhere where you're appreciated. I bet you somewhere else will pay you that same thing, and they'll appreciate you. I think it's a real shame. It really is a real shame, and I think it specifically hurts the football calendar when you have this exact situation happening and this second window opens and guys that just transferred are now looking elsewhere again.
From my understanding, I was told he can't go SEC or ACC.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and those are different conference rules, too. Like every conference has their own transfer rules as well. Yeah. Interesting. 615-737-1045 is the number. Coming up, I am excited about a new ESPN film that has been greenlighted. It is as excited as I have been about an ESPN documentary in quite some time, and we'll talk about it next. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll reset the headlines this morning on a Tuesday edition of RKW, brewed by 8th and Roast. Ron Slay is on deck in a half hour. You'll certainly want to stick around for that. And if you are not around, if your work is about to bring you into a 9 to 5, you can check out the RKW podcast. Subscribe wherever you download podcasts to Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Get every hour of every show right there as soon as the show concludes. Guys, ESPN Films has announced it has greenlit an upcoming 30 for 30 documentary centered around the life of Stuart Scott. And this documentary is going to be as cool as the other side of the pillow. I am very excited about this. And, man, Stuart Scott is the voice of my childhood, eating Cheerios and watching SportsCenter before I got on the bus to go to school in elementary school. Like, this guy, gone too soon at the age of 49, for so many people, is the voice of ESPN still to this day.
That's nuts that he was only 49. And I think he seems so long ago that he passed away, but not. Because, again, everybody grew up, I feel like, with Stuart Scott. No matter what age you were, you can remember those SportsCenter highlights at night, particularly for me, and doing the recap and just every kind of way that he would do these highlights. It'd be so fun to listen to because he was just going off the cuff, right? I mean, that was Stuart Scott. Like, he was that talented and made you feel like you were in the studio with him doing the show. Just seemed like such a genuine person, too. It's so sad that his life was cut short by cancer. It's freaking awful cancer.
Yeah.
But, man, his legacy will live on, and this is just, a reason why, because they're going to do a 30 for 30, and I'm sure it will be spectacular, as many of them are.
I have a really special connection with Stuart Scott. When he was born in Chicago, but his family moved him to North Carolina, and he went to Mount Tabor, which is the high school that's behind my house back in North Carolina. He used to come back and do so much for that school, whether it was – and Mount Tabor, nobody's familiar with it. Very good football school, very good wrestling school. He would come to all of their sporting events. Like, once a year, show up, make a big donation, and leave without making a fuss. Super cool dude, and helped a lot of my friends get jobs in media in North Carolina at news stations, radio stations. He was the man.
He was.
That's awesome.
And think about Stuart Scott. Like, he was just cool. He was good, but just cool, too.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's why it's good to be your own self in the way you do any job. You know what I'm saying? If you're doing it right. He made watching ESPN cool. You know what I'm saying? As much growth has been given by other folks. Like, he's, like Will said, a generation of people watched him and tried to do those things that he was doing, and those catchphrases. And, I mean, just thorough, man. I can't wait to see this.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's certainly the kind of guy, too, that would have been so awesome in the TikTok and social media era because he was just a good writer. He would make SportsCenter entertaining. He would make a Indiana Pacers Miami Heat highlight on a Tuesday morning in the middle of January entertaining to where you were legitimately interested. And I think, too, he was in an era of SportsCenter where you literally were waking up the next morning and learning scores.
Yeah.
You were either reading them in the newspaper or you were watching SportsCenter to know, all right, did the Braves win last night? Like, that was always my thing growing up and, looking for a score if I went to bed early or if I was a kid, my bedtime meant that I couldn't watch the end of a game I wanted to watch. Like, Stuart Scott would tell me what happened the next morning.
Yeah, he was.
And I think that era of SportsCenter anchors, you talk about John Butchercross, who we had on a week or two ago, and John Anderson and Linda Cohn, who has anchored more episodes of SportsCenter than anyone else in the history of the show. It's really cool what they were able to do and build within that era.
Yeah. And Scott Van Pelt still kind of does it with his show. And I love watching Scott Van Pelt. I think he just does it his way. Clearly, they brought the studio to him in D.C. to do it because he's that good.
On the way out, do you guys have a favorite catchphrase? I know Will
Booyah.
Booyah is the classic.
That's my favorite.
Booyah is the classic. I like
the other side of the pillow.
Yep.
Yeah.
You ain't got to go home, but you got to get the heck out of here.
There we go. I like
all the
that.
stuff that your family would say, he brought that to TV.
He did.
What's your favorite 30 for 30?
Ooh.
30 for 30.
Uninterrupted or unguarded, excuse me. What was yours?
Malice in the Palace.
Nice.
Malice at the Palace. Mine's unguarded. I thought that was a spectacular story. in terms of like, I had no idea Chris Herron went through all that stuff. Almost died on the streets, being a druggie, and being that big of a star at Fresno State, and then drafted by the Celtics and all that. So that was a good one.
Pony XS about SMU.
Oh, that's a good one too.
The two Escobars about Pablo and Andres Escobar in the World Cup that was in the United States, where Pablo Escobar allegedly murdered Andres Escobar, a player for the Colombian national team and for Atlético Nacional in the Colombian division, because he scored an own goal for Colombia in the World Cup and was killed for it. And 3 nights in October, the story of the Red Sox coming back from down 3-0 to the Yankees in the playoffs. First team to ever come back down 3-0 in Major League Baseball and win in Game 7. They were all access with both teams. Incredible.
I got to throw the Len Bias out there, too.
Yeah, it's good.
In today's climate with pills and just drugs and stuff, especially with fentanyl and stuff, man, the Len Bias one, definitely.
Yeah. I saw Duck Falling in the chat said the U. I do like that one because it was fun seeing how flashy they were and how dominant they were. That was really fun to see.
And Tennessee's win in the U against that Miami team.
Yeah.
As well.
That's right.
615-737-1045, our number. Hour 4 on deck with Ron Slay coming up at 9:20. We'll reset the headlines, tell you who the Titans were hosting and why they continue to take a close look at the cornerback position coming up next.
Make your home into an oasis of calm before the summer with Artisan Custom Closets. With custom storage solutions that are made to suit you, your style, and the best part about it, your budget. You can get that clutter organized and out of the way. Artisan Custom Closets can help you get organized in any space in your home, from walk-in closets to pantries, garages, or laundry rooms. Start your free in-house consultation and take advantage of the multiple financing options, too. Schedule your consultation now at artisancustomclosets.com.
Don't change that dial. This is 104.5 The Zone. Robert here. 9 o'clock. I'm flustered now. Good morning. The Eagles and wide receiver Devonta Smith have agreed to a 4-year, $90 million extension, keeping him in Philadelphia through the 2028 season. Smith had a $15 million fifth-year option picked up, and then another 3 years and $75 million tacked on top of that. Smith had durability concerns coming into the league but due to his size, but has only missed one game in the 3 years in the NFL. While some wide receivers are getting paid, others playing the waiting game, as CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson have skipped voluntary workouts, as Ian Rappaport reported, both in the final year of their deals, waiting for their teams to pay up. And the WNBA draft was last night. Some of the highlights: Caitlin Clark first overall to the Indiana Fever, no surprise there. Then Cameron Brink goes second, followed by Tennessee's Rakia Jackson going fourth, both to the LA Sparks, and Chicago Sky selecting Angel Reese seventh overall. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
You are listening to Ramon, Kayla, and Will on 104.5 The Zone, brewed by 8th and Rose Sports Talk. For another hour with Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, I'm Will Bowling. You get sports and life anytime Ron Slay walks in the building. That is what he will do coming up in 20 minutes right here into the 104.5 The Zone studios right here on The Zone. The Buck Rising Show coming up in an hour. 615-737-1045 is how you call The Zone.
We're not country here.
It is. I love that. Say it with some bass in your voice right there. Well, welcome, man. Hour 4. This went quick, man. I told y'all on the break. All right, I'm going to get back on track with the show.
You have been frazzled, to say the least, about this transfer information that Austin Price dropped during our segment with him.
And it's got me researching stuff real quick, too. It's just, if you're slated as a draftable player, right, the fifth round, you know, let's just go there. And most people, all right, fifth round, I'm going to go back to school, try to better your odds. Well, the fifth rounder, this is last year's salaries, right? Last year's signing bonus for a fifth round, first pick of the first round, and it goes down incrementally from those picks. So like the 43rd pick in the fifth round got $258,000 as a signing bonus. The first pick in the fifth round last year got $378,000, around that much, with a base salary of $750,000. It's a dub. That's a win. Why am I chasing $300,000 in college when I can go get that in the sign? Especially if I know I got a fifth round or better grade. That's just it's new. I ain't mad at them getting their bread. Will, Kayla, Bert, listeners, but at some point we're gonna have to grow up out here.
There is one important clarification to make that has been made on social media in the last 10 minutes. So, former Innsworth defensive back, former Tennessee, Oklahoma, now Ole Miss DB Key Lawrence has actually now, according to reporters, not entered the transfer portal. There is another player with his exact same name who plays linebacker for Ole Miss, Keyshawn Lawrence. That is Key Lawrence's full name as well. He is the one who entered the portal. What? From Ole Miss. So that is that.
Apologies for speaking on him.
Well, hopefully his next team can unlock his potential.
Yeah, that would be key for them.
That'd be key.
There
key
you go. See what you're doing.
You should play some of that coming back. Either way, that's wild. They're two similar names on the same team right there. But yeah, the portal is wide open till the 30th. I've seen other schools jump in. I hadn't seen many SEC schools jump in.
Portal hopping.
Absolutely. Titans hosted Terrion Arnold yesterday. The Titans have met with 5 corners as far as top 30 visits go. They met with another one in a private meeting as well. Potential trade back insurance.
Definitely.
Looking at the cornerback position.
For sure. The 5 you have listed, Will, that we know of.
Chris Adams-Drain, Terrion Arnold, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Jarvis Brownlee, and Kalen Carson.
it wouldn't shock me. These are top guys right here. It would not shock me if there was another guy out there. I'm not understanding, like, if there's a guy like Nate Wiggins out there for sure, I could see him being a visit type of dude. Be very similar, man, to the type of guy they're looking for with speed, power, and can make plays, right?
I think there is a strong possibility that not every visit gets reported, and we know this to be the case with top 30 visits, right? The certain ones that agents want out there, that teams perhaps want out there. There is always the likelihood that there are more players who have been in the building that have not been officially reported to be in the building.
Yeah. And when Brian, he pops in during our break sometimes, and we had this conversation earlier about cornerbacks visiting and if they've all been reported, or maybe there's some guys that have been there and not been reported. But I did ask, I was like, is this kind of the final week we're going to hear about those visits? And he said, yeah, it's definitely starting to wind down. So there'll probably be some visits this week for top 30 for teams. But after that, it's done.
They conclude on April 19th.
Yeah.
That is the last day for top 30 visits.
Which is
3 days.
What are we even on?
That is in 3 days.
So this week.
Yep.
That'd be good. That last week is for family prep, working out if you have to, and mentally getting to it.
So Peter Schrager has his first mock draft out.
Oh, boy.
Another new one. Peter Schrager waits to do his mock draft this late in the process, and I like the way he does it because he's not just throwing dartboards blindfolded at a wall. He's talking to people, and based on what he is hearing and based on his own analysis, we'll put together a mock draft. So let's dive into it. Caleb Williams, of course, number 1. Jaden Daniels, 2, ending up in Washington. Peter Schrager writes, as of today, I think Daniels is the pick at number 2, weighed in at a pretty robust 210 pounds, which pleasantly surprised many folks at LSU's Pro Day.
That's big.
Drake May, 3 to New England in this scenario. Peter Schrager writing, despite lots of smoke that New England could trade down, I believe this new Patriots regime will be comfortable with either Daniels or May. Pat's brass took May out for steaks the night before his Foxborough visit earlier this month. Yeah, I don't care. They also loved their top 30 visit with Daniels. Yeah, I'm sure they did. Anyway, number 4, a trade, potentially, according to Peter Schrager. The New York Football Giants in this scenario would move up to 4 with the Cardinals and take J.J. McCarthy.
There it is.
Replacing Daniel Jones. I've been on this for months. I think New York is absolutely in the quarterback market. Absolutely.
And this would be the first time ever you'd see 4 straight QBs go. In like 1, 2, 3, 4.
What sucks for them is they had lightly committed to Daniel Jones. Like they gave
not
us
lightly.
They
The dude's
did.
getting paid.
No.
And then it all went
It went to
crashing
crap. I mean,
down.
he has moments, and then
I
he's running
know.
in the open field and he's tripping over his own feet.
He has one of the highest cap hits of any player in the NFL this upcoming season. You guys know how much his cap hit is this year, 2024?
Give it to us.
You said one of the highest, 47 million?
47.85 million.
Highway Robin.
And we thought Ryan Tannehill was taking up cap space at the time.
He was 38 million.
Sometimes it's just good to be
believe.
lucky and born in the right situation.
So that's
Danny Dimes.
number 4 for J.J. McCarthy. That has the Cardinals moving back just 2 spots. The Los Angeles Chargers in this scenario would land Marvin Harrison Jr. The Cardinals then moving back to 6 would take Roma Dunze. And the Tennessee Titans would select Joe Alt with the number 7 overall pick. Dallas Turner at 8 to the Falcons. That's another one you slot in there. And then a problem for the Titans with the number 9 pick. In this scenario, the Indianapolis Colts would move up to number 9, not to take Brock Bowers, but to take Malik Neighbors. I don't like that.
I actually see this happening more than anything because who are their wide receivers that are playmakers,
Well, that's
like
Michael
consistently?
Pittman.
Michael Pittman.
It's about the one that had 1,000 yards last year.
Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce.
Yeah. And Pierce
Michael
was
Pittman, Alec
injured.
Pierce, and Malik Neighbors would be a very strong, young trio of wide receivers in Indy.
They also have Josh Downs in the slot, who
That's
played
true.
really
Yeah,
well
that's
for them
true.
last
North
year.
Carolina
He had a
product.
good year. You're right.
He had a good year.
Jelani Woods at tight end can't stay healthy, but athletic freak when he's on the field.
Burned the Titans
Oh,
when he was healthy.
gee.
Did he?
Yeah.
Jelani Woods?
When he was healthy, whatever that year was, I think he had a big game against. Yeah, I think he had a breakout game. Because that's the thing about the Titans. There was always those players that had like breakout games against the Titans that weren't
in the game playing.
Maybe weren't the main guy, right?
Jelani Woods against the Titans had 2 catches for 35 yards.
Is that the only game?
No.
You played against him?
No, both games he's played against the Titans, he only had 2 catches.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that wasn't Jelani. My bad.
There was Jack Doyle.
I know
always
there's
going way
been
back,
guys that have done that, and
Yeah.
especially with the Colts. One of their tight ends.
Their tight end room is like the most unassuming guys who can all take your head off. Like Mo Alley Cox, Kyle Grayson, all of those guys are just so unassuming, but can be very efficient.
I think Eric Ebron had some big games against the Titans.
That might have been who it was. I know it was a tight end, but I just can't remember.
Yeah. I don't know.
There's been many of them.
Yeah, Ebron for
Years.
Indy in 2018 and 2019 had a couple of touchdowns.
Yeah, and then
6 catches for 60, but that was 2018. That was a while ago.
One of their running backs too, not obviously JT. One of those years on his 21st
Was Zach
birthday
Moss
or
last
something.
year too.
Moss last year,
Yeah,
yeah.
was it
And
before
the one that went to Buffalo.
Singletary?
No,
Naheem
not
Hines.
Naheem Hines.
Naheem Hines, yes.
Naheem Hines
He had
got
a
off
huge
here.
day.
Yeah, it was here in Nashville.
Yep.
Interesting. Chris on Twitter says Mo Alley Cox is who you're thinking of
Him too.
for Indy.
Just get the list going.
If we're still looking at Peter Schrager's list, is
Yeah, what else you want to know?
One pick that I don't necessarily understand or like unless they're gonna make a change, which is possible. But he's got the Bears picking J.C. Latham at 15, and they got Darnell at right tackle unless Darnell's about to move.
Yeah, and in that scenario, the Bears would be the trade partner, obviously, for the Colts, who would move up to 9. Yeah.
And they got him taking J.C. Latham with the already right tackle in place.
I
Young
wonder,
right tackle.
I wonder if they would move him over. The guy that's playing left tackle for them right now is Braxton Jones, a 5th-round pick who played well enough. But I wonder if they would try to move Darnell over and then upgrade right tackle. But who's to say?
Yeah, I worry about Darnell Wright on the left side.
He's so much good, so much better.
He's so good at right tackle. He is ready for a big 1-2 jump because he was good as a rookie last season, Darnell Wright.
And this is why this is a mock,
I know.
right?
Yeah.
On the way out, Peter Schrager, does he have the most slappable face? And when I say that, I mean the easiest to slap. He's got a lot more face than most other people to slap. I just want to lay 4 good fingers on that dude's face.
Why have I heard this from other people?
I think Rhett has spewed the same nonsense that I'm spewing right now.
I've actually gone opposite of that one as of late because so many people want to slap him, and I've met him, and he's super cool.
nice.
I've gone opposite.
Those are the guys you want to slap the most. Why are you so cool, man?
See, as someone else who does have a punchable face, I cannot speak about anyone else's faces. And I'm not nice either. So I can't talk about wanting to punch anyone else's faces because
Well,
that might
You've said it
encourage someone to just punch me.
You
Considering
have
the
wanted
face
to
that
punch
I have.
people on this
Who's the dude that
haven't.
sells all
Not
the
violent.
auctioneer things? Like he's like, this is the most memorable, and then he God, dadgummit, I should have had it before I came in here.
That's
You
all
talking
right.
about like the Flex Seal people, the infomercials?
No,
Phil Swift here for Flex Seal. Ron Slay is coming up next to rid us of whatever in the world this segment has become. Coming up next. Tuesday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW is brewed by 8th and Rose. 615-737-1045. How you join us? A man by the name of Ron Slay will step into the room coming up whenever he decides to join us.
Sometime soon he'll be here. Man, he called me at 5 o'clock yesterday morning.
Really?
Yeah,
Why?
just up.
I was going to say, why is he up that early?
He know I'm up that early. That's why right there,
Hey,
man.
he doesn't need to be up that early.
No, he doesn't. But the show goes on, man. The show goes on with Ronald Slay.
We figure out who I wanted to slap in the break.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
Darren Ravel.
Darren Rovell, collector of all memorabilia and aggregator of stadium sport food. Look that fella up and tell me you don't want to give that face a little slap.
I can see
Darren
that.
Ravel.
He is he's something.
Yeah.
He's been on 3HL before, actually. I met him a couple of years ago doing Zone TV for one of 3HL's shows at Tin Roof 2 out in Cool Springs.
He does have that kind of face. So does Pete Thamel. Pete Thamel looks like I don't know, something with the eyebrows. Just looks like a mean character.
Who do you want to punch in sports? 615-737-1045.
Punchable. Yeah, we should make that a segment.
We should make that a segment.
Please don't
one
say
day.
me.
That would be awesome.
Make that a segment.
Call in.
Please don't say me.
I just want to know who Eric wants to punch. That's the only person
Me
I care
too.
about.
Hey, guys, appreciate you
He's
taking my
so
call.
great.
Eric, I was with Savage. I wanted to hear the Eric laugh today, man. He came with a very serious, "You're not that guy." And it was still good.
It was it was a solid one from
It
him.
was, man. Big Eric is what he's referred to these days. Punchable faces in sports, though.
I feel the first one that comes to mind is a college kid, and I feel bad wanting to punch
Nah,
a child.
No, they
grown.
fold the quickest.
They grown.
I'd rather punch one of them than punch a grown-ass man. He might punch me back. Let me get in a fight with somebody with no arms. I'm telling you, I'll talk the most trash to
my
them.
gosh.
Put your hands up. I mean, what, they going to change the channel with what arms?
my
You think I'm offending somebody?
I was going to say Reed Shepard, the Kentucky shooting guard.
Give him a little punch.
But that's mean.
you
If I
pop Reed.
were to say someone in college, that's who I would say. But they're just kids.
Ooh, Nick Wright of Fox Sports.
Just him. You Nick.
This was what Vandy man
Yeah.
was saying in the chat. I would agree with that one.
One
Nick
commenter
Wright.
says Zach Eady.
That's
Oh,
my.
Hope you
yeah,
got long
for
arms
sure.
to reach up there.
That's my
Yeah,
answer.
you have to get on a ladder for him.
That's my answer. I'm real with you.
With Zach Eady.
Yeah.
Well, you could
I
you
wouldn't
could be
even-
there
I
right
wouldn't- I
up
wouldn't even-
there with him.
Wouldn't even want to fight him because I feel like he wouldn't know what we're fighting about. But
Sure.
if you put him up on like a target, like those little plastic punching things, yeah, I punch it one time. We have drinks afterwards. Like that's what it would be. We talk after.
He's mean. No.
I punch him one time. No.
We have a guest on the phones calling us this morning. Ron Slay is here. What's up, Slay?
wow.
What's up, Savage?
What up, Doe? What up, Doe? What up, Doe?
Savage, who would you punch if you could?
Who would I punch if I could? Dang, that's a good one.
It's a violent way to start the morning, but
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one because it's a lot of punching. A lot of people you want to punch, but a lot of times I just want to punch them in the heat of the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't really just want to walk around and see them at the grocery store and punch them. It more so got to be, you know what I mean, and the competitive spirit
On the court.
of some of it. Yeah, somewhere like that. Yeah, I'm cool with punching them then. I don't want to punch them when they trying to get the new Frosted Flakes. You know what I mean, or something like that.
sometimes you
I
want
want a dog.
to punch someone's behavior, but not their actual
Right,
face.
I'm with
right.
yes.
Yeah, I want to punch everybody in the portal.
There we go.
Just being honest, just for the simple fact they in there. I was just watching, man. I had the chance to do a podcast with one of my young fellas, man, that grew up underneath me, and it was fun to do because and when you get to do these podcasts, man, you kind of relive, your younger days, and you go back down that little journey that you had, and you don't usually do that, because we only go so much and trying to strive for other things. But man, sitting there listening, I was listening to myself, and it was talking about the people that were in front of me when I got to Tennessee as my freshman year, and it was guys that was established, all SEC guys that are in the record books right now, guys that had great careers, guys that were taller, more athletic, everything. And it was three guys in front of me, and me and Hayslip coming off the bench. And not once in my mind
ever think, you know what, man, I got another year with these dudes in front of me. They upperclassmen. Man, I think, man, after this year, I'm just going to transfer. I mean, not even one thought. My whole mindset was, man, you know what? I don't know what they're going to do, but somebody about to figure out some time to give me. I don't know how they're going to do it. Either it's going to be me or the coaches. Somebody's going to look dumb if I don't get no time. And that's what it was. And Slip felt the same way. We had 3 other guys in front of us, and we both on the bench. Slip was a lottery pick. Like, never did we ever think that we were going to transfer. Slip's mindset, I know he don't mind me telling him this.
Tell us who Slip is, because you speak
Marcus Hayslip. I always think I'm just talking to family, you know what I mean? But,
we are.
Yeah. Marcus Hayslip, man, from Lewisburg, man, should have been a McDonald's All-American, but came in 6'10", highly touted in the state of Tennessee, came in with our freshman group. Now, Marcus, his whole thing coming out of his sophomore year was not, you know what, man, I think I'm going to transfer, go get me some playing time. His thing was, I'm leaving regardless to go to the league. And we all looking at like what? We called him Slip. Like, Slip, what you talking about, man? And we, lo and behold, we came back. I don't know what he did for like 5 weeks in the summer, but this man looked like the Incredible Hulk when we came back. And it was different. But that was the mindset. It wasn't no transfer, because people could transfer and go sit out. That wasn't no problem. Plenty of people did it. Jason Parker did it. A lot of people did it, man. People that played at Kentucky, coming from different schools, Carolina, whatever it may be. Everybody could do it if you were that guy. But the mindset is totally crazy right now. We talked about it a little bit on 3HL, man. I know I'm on a tangent, but this portal stuff, dog, this is just different, man. This ain't nothing but a headache to me, man.
Ron Slay, 3HL and SEC Network with us. And it's crazy when you think about a guy like Tyler Barron, who is a homegrown Tennessee talent, starts 18 games for Tennessee, has an opportunity to go to the NFL, but decides, let me take the NIL deal and get a payday. And Austin Price has been telling us all year, Tyler Barron's in a contract year. Okay, well, he takes that contract year down to Oxford, then decides going into the spring practice time, actually, I'm going to go up to Louisville. And now he's back in the portal. What are your advice? What's your advice, Slay, to people around these players as they navigate things like this? Because it feels like the issue is as much on the people around the player as much as it is on the player in some of these situations.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue to me. If we could remove the people that are around them, giving them false or bad information, or information that's going to help them instead of the player, then and I mean the immediate help, instead of let this player set themselves up for whatever may come down the line in the future. If you could remove those people, I think these players would be in much better state. Then you wouldn't have to have those people being removed. Would also, some coaches, the majority of coaches, wouldn't have to lie to players. So you could remove that. They could be more honest with them. They could coach them harder. You know what I mean? And you can prepare. And mentally, as players, the players wouldn't have to lie to each other, because the players are essentially what's recruiting each other. Because don't think for 1 second they're just jumping on the phone with these coaches. They're jumping on the phone with players, man. What y'all getting up there? What y'all NILs looking like? Okay, look, we're going to get up there. So I think it's a part of it, man, is that. Also, these guys, as much as social media is out there and you're able to portray something, these kids scared, man. They're scared. Because if you really like that, it's really. And I had a parent tell me, I won't say no name, but I had a parent tell me this is free agency for that kid. I'm like, what? It's free agency? I feel what you're saying, but I don't think that's the way we need to be looking at it. I just think they're scared. They're scared of the competition. I think they're scared of the next step. I think they get comfortable because that's where they all been. Everybody's been like that on their phones. Ain't nobody outside. Ain't nobody got to experience nothing new. You ain't got to adjust. You ain't got to adapt. I think everybody is comfortable in their situation. I think that's more so than not. They're comfortable now. When I say they're comfortable, they're scared to take their next step. Oh, you league? Oh, you him? That's who you are on social media. Well, go step out and be him then. Put that responsibility on your shoulder. Can you go get it? Go get in the draft. Go get it. What you waiting on? What it is, you scared. You can't get it done. So you got to go and use this up. And I'm with it. Go on and use it up. Use your 5 years up and then be looking out at the end of it like, man, I ain't even getting no invite to the combine. I wonder why.
Savage, as it pertains to this same conversation right here, again, I have the feeling you're not against it, the portal, transferring. No. You just have to be strategic. What is playing time is one thing. That's one thing Austin Price said with us. Like, Tobe Awaka may come back because his is, man, I want to play. Can you support that better than saying, hey, who's going to give me the next bag? Even if you're just, I hate to call them a marginal players, but there's a lot of guys that's hopping in that never come out of the portal, too.
Yes, without question. I can relate with that. And everybody, I believe, knew. And that's what I'm saying. You leave it up to somebody looking crazy, either you or the coaches. And in this situation, I think everybody at the end of the day was looking and scratching their head like, dang, maybe Toby should have been playing more. You know what I'm saying? But circumstances showed that a second-team All-SEC guy was in front of you. You got hurt. He started ascending and never descended until we got to this point. But when you're talking about Jonas Adu. But with Tobe, I'm cool with that. I ain't got no problem with that. It ain't about the money because you know what's going to happen? When you go out there and produce, the money going to be there anyway. You ain't got to say a word. I ain't got to sell myself. What I got to sell? Look at my work. Look at my work I've done. I ain't got to do any of that. So, yeah, I can accept that way more than you coming out and telling me, man, oh, it was so great, man, these teammates, all my coaching staff, the administration, oh, this was the best experience I ever had in my life. With no further ado, I would just like to say I want to jump in the portal. What? Well, what was you just talking about? Like, hey, man, everything is a facade, man. Like, man, give me somebody true. That's why, man, I'm so happy what Dan Hurley is doing. I'm not even a UConn fan, but I'm a fan of the way he's coaching, the way he's able to go get guys, the way they're able to buy in, the culture that's able to be set, and it does not take for you to come in here and tell me that you worth $350,000. No, come in here and show me that you worth it. And you ain't got to worry about a thing. We're going to take care of you. I can promise you that for life.
Yeah. I heard of this one prospect coming in. Let's throw a number out there that was making $75,000 a year NIL, and he exploded. Then they took it up to $750,000. Like, that's what it results to. It's like and I think that's what NIL was intended upon. Speaking of that, though, Savage, we can go down this road for a very long time, man.
Man, a long time.
Tennessee did get a commitment out of the portal. On the basketball side, man, Hofstra Wing, Darlingstone, Dubar. Can you break it down for us?
Yeah, Stone, man, is a guy, man, that they were high on. He came, and you need to replace a veteran wing, not only in Josiah but in Dalton as well. But I think more so the role that was filled by Josiah, Jordan James, being able to be that tweener as far as a 3 or 4, being able to defend both spots, two guard at times as well, being able to get in there and rebound. And then when you look at a guy, man, being able to shoot high from the floor and be able to stretch the floor and knock down the 3 at about 40% of clip, I think that's great for what you're looking for as far as filling that void that's going to be left by Josiah. Because as much as you wanted to see so much more, he was always reliable as far as being that Swiss Army knife, being able to know what guys are. So you bring an intelligent basketball player in, and at the same time being able to get the scoring and defense that you were getting from Josiah. I think more so Josiah than Dalton Connect in this situation.
It was interesting, too, when it comes to what he said of why picking Tennessee, and kind of familiar with how Dalton connected with Rick Barnes, liked the attitude that Rick Barnes had, just being kind of, this is what it is, right? He's going to tell you what it is, and that kind of drew him in as well. How big is that for Tennessee to continue to try to get some of these guys in the portal that will seamlessly help them, come tournament time too, with just kind of being honest about what he expects?
Yeah, if you're going there for any other reason, then it's going to be silly, because at some point, regardless if it's NIL, you're able to trick them. By the time the season gets going, before it gets going, you're going to know exactly who you have. And I would think things are paying out. It's like, so it's always good to be able to get those guys, those core guys, fundamentally sound guys, the guys that are going to believe in exactly what you're preaching, guys that can get along with the teammates, especially with the way the revolving door is with guys coming in and out. When you got your core guys, if you bring somebody in, they got to be able to fit in with the guys, and be able to, take on the same moniker. It's not about me. If you can't do that coming in, you probably in the wrong place. So I think that's the foundation laid by Coach Barnes, and it's continuing to be able to push through with his staff. And I think you got the guys that are veterans that are there to vet them as well. Once they walk away from the recruiting visit, I can guarantee you some of the people he's talking to is Meshack, Zakai, guys like this to try to figure out, okay, y'all think he can fit in? And one thing about it, I've never seen Zakai beat around the bush or Meshack. They're going to tell you the truth.
So there was 4 players that have recently entered the transfer portal. Obviously, they're getting him now to fill a spot. But what do you see in terms of moves with this team making here over the next few months with, adding back to this roster?
Yeah, I think you're going to have to fill the void, and you're going to have to look at the portal. You bringing a guy in from high school, the kid Igor from Charlotte. I think will be a good pickup. They also got a young man from Ohio State. I forgot his name, but he could be a big grab. Another guy that's on the radar. I don't know if we're gonna reveal he's on the radar or not, but because he's not in the portal. But they got another guy that's a 50, 40, 90 guy that could really go. And if he decides to pull his name from the draft, I think it'll be a big, huge pickup. It could have the impact of a Grant Nelson had for Alabama, even though it's a different position, or a Dalton Connect had for Tennessee. Maybe not to that extreme where you're a unanimous first-team All-American, but as far as the SEC level, could be first-team, potential to be a first-team All-SEC guy at the 2-guard spot. So that'll be big for him. So that's one. Him, you got the Ohio State kid, you got the kid from Charlotte, Belmont kid as well, and I'm sure at some point you could tap into the Texas market with their 2-guard that's just jumped in the portal. I forgot his first name. I think
Tyrese Hunter?
Yeah.
Yep.
That could be another one that you could go get. So, especially with them coming into the SEC, a lot of people, seeing the light turned on as far as when you're transferring. So, it's going to be interesting to see.
And Roddy Gale is that Ohio State transfer who averaged 13.5 points per game and 4 rebounds.
And when you see numbers like that, Will, to the fans, you can't take the numbers and say, okay, well, he'll average 13 here. He could average 17 here. He could average 8. And what you're looking for is the impact that they're going to bring into that system.
Slade, before we take a quick break, is there a chance Tobe Awaka, now that he also knows Jonas Adu is in the transfer portal, could take a close look at coming back to Tennessee?
Yeah, I heard that's some of my reps, man. I heard that's high on the priority list. If I'm not mistaken, it was supposed to try to speak with him. Today was Tuesday? I think Friday. They were supposed to try to speak with him Friday and see if we can get him back in the fold. And I think with him and JP Estrella, they are super high on. I think a lot of us are too. By being able to see Estrella play, that's one of the guys that I think is going to take a step forward. But you put Tobe right there at that 4 spot. You could play him at the 4 or 5, mixed with the guys you got coming in. It could be a real problem. I think that's the main thing. Being able to have playing time. You got to look at Tobe, looking at Jonas and saying, oh, man, he made second team All-SEC. I could guarantee I can give you those numbers, and maybe even more, with more of an impact because of the physicality that he brings to the game. So it'd be interesting to see. It would be eye-opening to me if Tobe stayed in the portal.
Slay, when we come back, if you have time for a couple more minutes, we can talk about this USA basketball roster.
I'm game with it.
All right. Let's do that when we come back with Ron Slay here.
I'm a USA team member myself. I ain't want to throw that out there.
With American hero Ron Slay continues with us coming up next.
It's Ramon Foster for United Structural Systems. Listen to me. When it comes to large home repairs, a lot of time we homeowners pretend we do not see those warning signs. We're afraid we're going to hear. It's especially true with waterproofing and foundation repair. It can be something big that needs to be fixed right away or a small problem now that'll become bigger later. Bottom line is we don't know. What we need is a peace of mind. And one of those peace of mind can be sought out with the over 25,100% satisfied residential customers with their online reviews, like Brad from Nashville. This was posted April 9th of this year. He says, we had 2 sidewalks that collapsed on our campus and created a trip hazard and an ADA issue. He said, I placed a call to USS to get a quote on the concrete polylifting service. The service was quick and the communication was excellent from the first call until the day of completion. He goes on to talk about the tech and how the sidewalk is so much better now, telling how much money they saved them because, again, somebody get injured on your property. Hey, some people will take you to court over that. Listen, if you have any foundation issues from sidewalks to your house, check around the inside, outside the house, or whether that may be foundational waterproofing, simply reach out to the people that I trust at United Structural Systems, serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, Western Kentucky. You can reach them online at ussTN.com or call them 615-488-7855.
Wrapping up the show on RKW, the Buck Rising Show is coming up in just a few minutes. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling with you, joined as we are on Tuesdays in Hour 4 by 3HL and SEC Networks, Ron Slay. Slay, how excited are you for a USA basketball team that is an A team, to say the least, that is taking the streets of Paris over this summer?
Oh, man, I'm going to love it. I'm going to love to see the domination. And I'll continue to say to the guys that come out of playing for the USA team, wherever it is, whether it's in the Olympics, whether it's in the FIBA American Games, whatever it is, being affiliated with it, you always springboard yourself into a different mindset, if you will, as far as when you come back and play in whatever league that you're playing in, man. You saw it with Kyrie, you saw it in Kevin Durant when he took off, you saw it in guys, and you're going to continue to see in guys. And I heard Savage talking about it earlier. I think Anthony Edwards is a guy that's going to excel in this. Tyrese Halliburton is going to be a guy. Bam Adebayo, I think, will do good. Embiid will be able to make his name and stamp himself. So, man, it's some of the best, man, and it's only going to get better. It's only going to get better, man, and I think when you look back at it, dating all the way back to 2004, when those guys lost, it was the sense of pride, I think, had to be reestablished. And I think that's the great thing that the Redeem team did. You're being able to see these veterans be able to pull it together for one more opportunity to go out there and set the stage. And regardless of it's blowouts or close games, the ultimate goal, I believe, is the gold, to come home with the gold. And I think that's when you walk away from it knowing what the competition is throughout the world, that's you got to salute to this team, man, and them being able to go out there and play for pride, represent the U.S.
What's the difference in this coming around versus Schroeder winning the World Games? What's the two differences in the leagues that you're asking players to play in, in contrast to what the Olympics are?
Yeah, you're actually sending guys, when you look at from the world's perspective, they're sending guys that, play every summer together, and already have camaraderie on their team. They kind of have the stage set for the pecking order, who's going to be the guy on the team, like where it goes from Germany to Argentina, wherever it may be, Spain, whatever it is. These guys, they take time out in their countries, minus the NBA players, and they practice. It's real life, like they go away for 2 weeks, practice for their country's team, and then come back to the regular league, and then the league picks back up. So they already have a jump on it. So that's why when sending the B group or the C group or whatever it may be, it's almost USA. We look at it as, okay, all right, dog. Yeah, this is what y'all supposed to do. This is y'all best team that you got out there. So when the Olympics come, we'll put our best team out there and let the chips fall where they may. And I think that's what this is about, being able to say, all right, we saw what y'all did last year, to qualify. That's cool, but let's see what it's about now.
So what do you expect the competition to be like then?
I expect it to be good. But I expect the USA to be superior, especially within the time frame that it'll be put together.
Mm-hmm.
You may have 3 weeks to practice together after the NBA season done, if that, and then just dive straight into it. I think, man, imagine if these guys were able to take breaks in the NBA season and go practice and create that camaraderie, and then don't have to go back to the season and play cutthroat to go get the NBA championship. It would be totally different. I think the separation would be greater. But you take one guy that's going to be really good for Canada or really good for Spain or really good for Italy, and try to compare him to what you're going to face against real live dogs, spot for spot, on the USA team. Nah, I'm gonna bet my money every single time on it.
Is this the LeBron and Steph bow out? As far as, I don't know, if neither one of them will be up the next time. KD also.
Yeah, this is the encore.
Okay.
This is the encore. Now I could definitely see 4 years from now, if they wanted to. I doubt they would, because that's taking up a spot and taking something from one of these younger guys. But if it came down to it, I think they would still be in playing shape to say, yeah, man, we'll play in, 28?
Okay.
We'll play when it comes around, but man, you don't want to do that. You don't want to take no spot from guys that are emerging, like Jalen Brunson and Paul George. He can go out there and get it again. Like there's plenty of guys out there, man, that deservingly need that shot to be able to turn into global superstars.
Global superstar Ron Slade joins us every Tuesday at 9:20 here on RKW. You hear him every weekday in the afternoon on your drive home on 3HL. I don't need to tell you that. You're already tuned in to this man, Brent Doherty, Don Davenport, Joe Hunk, and the entire crew. Slade, thank you as always. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, Savage.
Hey, I just wanted to say, man, I wasn't late either. Bert was supposed to call me. He didn't take the picture.
Oh.
And that was behind attorney-client privilege.
Yeah, come on. I thought we were boys. Slade. We shared a cigar this weekend. I thought we weren't throwing each other on the bus like this.
Yeah, you didn't get me into that sweet, man. So
Always be your own boys.
I tried.
Always your own boys. Thank you, Slay.
Thanks, Slade.
all right.
There's Ron Slay, and that is the show. A fast 4 hours. Hit the podcast if you missed it. The Buck Rising Show is up next, and Ramon Foster makes you smarter on the way home.
Yay. Your Twitter finger's good, people, and your mic is always hot.